Chapter 1801. After entering the inner part of the sect, Jiangchen looked around, trying to see if there was anything wrong. Unfortunately, no matter where Jiangchen looked, he couldn't find anything wrong. Apart from the incomparably gloomy and rotten smell, there was nothing else. Sitting in a room, Jiangchen took out the 3 corpses from his storage ring. 4 corpses were placed in front of by Xiaoyan. Shicho was surprised. He didn't expect that these people would dare to take them out. After checking them one by one, it was indeed the same as what the disciple had reported. There were 3 immortal venerables and 4 half-step immortal venerables. "Elder, is this correct?" asked Jiangchen. "There's no mistake. They are indeed immortal venerables." Shicho smiled and hastily ordered the disciples to drag the 7 corpses away, then said, "Please wait here for a moment. I'll go and prepare the immortal jades for you." After a while, Shicho came in with a promissory note. "This is a promissory note worth 6 billion. You can exchange it at any bank in the immortal world." Shicho placed the promissory note on the table in front of Jiangchen. "Big brother, let's go." Jiangchen kept it and got up, ready to leave. "Wait a moment. Our corpse cliff will accept immortal venerables at any time. If you have any more, please send them to us. We will certainly thank you in the future." Shicho cupped his fists at Jiangchen. "Elder, I wonder what your corpse cliff wants to do with these corpses. These 7 people are all immortal venerables of our sect. If it wasn't for the lack of money, we wouldn't have resorted to such a method. Can you tell me what will happen to them if we give you the corpses?" Jiangchen turned around and asked. "This?" Shicho shook his head. "This is related to the secrets of the sect. I'm afraid I can't tell you." "Then there's no need to cooperate anymore. Originally, I thought that given the strength of my sect, if any of the immortal venerables of the subsidiary sects were unfortunate enough to fall, I could still send them to you to earn some immortal jades. But now, it seems that I don't want to give you any of them." Jiangchen took out the promissory note from his storage ring and slapped it on the table. "This?" Shicho hesitated. "They might not be able to collect the 7 corpses of the immortal venerables even after thousands of years. It would be a pity if they just gave it up like this. However, if they were to tell others about it, the secrets of the sect would be leaked. Elder, since I'm already here, do you think I'll tell anyone about you? Wouldn't that ruin the reputation of our sect, and let the immortal world know that the fallen immortal venerables of our sect will be sent to your corpsing cliff? I'm only asking you because I want you to feel better." Seeing Shicho hesitate, Jiangchen knew that it was possible, so he continued to add fuel to the fire. "Fine, what you said makes sense." Shicho looked at the 2 black-clothed men in front of him, and then looked at the corpses on the ground. In the end, he compromised. He couldn't let the 7 corpses disappear in front of him. Although he could directly kill the 2 of them, he was afraid of the power behind them. To be able to take out 7 corpses of the immortal venerables at once, it was probably not a weak sect in the entire immortal world. Even if the corpsing cliff was backed by the Black Sect, the sect master wouldn't help at all in this matter that had nothing to do with the Black Sect. "But there's one thing I hope you 2 won't tell anyone after seeing it." Shicho compromised. He really needed these corpses of the immortal venerables. "Of course, we still know the rules." Jiangchen sneered. "Please come with me." Shicho handed the promissory note back to Jiangchen and took the lead to walk out of the room. After going to the back of the sect, Jiangchen felt even more oppressed. Even the immortal force that was circulating in his body was somewhat blocked. Moreover, the smell that filled the air was something that even he couldn't bear. Jiangchen was at the end of the line, and he was struck dumb when he saw what was in front of him. It was a dark green pool with a lot of black chi floating out from it. On top of each pool, there was a cultivator hanging with half of his body inside. Under the corrosion of the pool, some black lines crawled on the corpses, looking extremely strange. This is the secret technique of our corpsing cliff. As long as you soak in the pool for 1,000 years, you can become a puppet that can be controlled. The 7 immortal venerables of your sect will also be like this. Shicho pointed at the situation and said to Jiangchen, "I see." Jiangchen nodded and said, "It's not bad to be able to continue fighting in this way. You can understand?" Shicho was really touched by Jiangchen's words. He had thought Jiang Chun would refuse to sell him the immortal venerable's corpse again after seeing these things. He had even made up his mind to kill these two people at the cost of offending the school. However, he didn't expect that not only did Jiang Chun not object, but he also agreed with them. Of course, Jiang Chun nodded, but his heart was filled with disgust. He was afraid that such a despicable method could only be used in the outer domain. Although Corpsine Cliff seemed to be a sect of the eastern domain, it was actually no different from a sect of the outer domain. In the future, if you have any more corpses of immortal venerables, please send them to me as soon as possible. Shircho cupped his hands and said, if your sect encounters any trouble in the future, please tell me frankly. I will certainly lend a hand. Really? Jiang Chun raised his eyebrows. Of course, Shircho said with certainty. To tell you the truth, I'm currently in trouble. I can't let the sect know, but with my strength, I'm afraid I'm no match for the other party. A plan emerged in Jiang Chun's mind. Originally, he came here today to see the situation of Corpsine Cliff, but he didn't expect to have an unexpected harvest. Ka! Shircho's palm made a sound. Two corpses of immortal venerables without intelligence walked out of the pool. These two are already qualified puppets. You can let them follow you and take care of your opponents. They are invincible against immortal venerables, but if you offend an immortal king, I can't do anything about it. At this time, Shircho was completely dazzled by the great benefits brought by Jiang Chun. He realized that as long as he coaxed these two people, there would definitely be more corpses of immortal venerables sent to the sect in the future. It's just that I don't know how to use them. Jiang Chun sized them up. The auras emanating from the two corpses were indeed of the 9th level of immortal venerable realm. However, it was easy to tell the difference between them and average cultivators. It's simple. I'll send 2 disciples to follow you. With them, the puppets will be able to play their greatest role. Shircho agreed immediately. Thank you for your help, Elder. Jiang Chun cupped his hands pretentiously. I should be the one thanking you. I've never seen so many corpses of immortal venerables. Shircho laughed and returned the salute. Chapter 1802. After sitting in the room for a while, Jiang Chun and Bai Xiaoyan left with the 2 puppets. The puppets were covered in gray robes. 2 disciples of Corpse Cliff followed closely behind them. Senior brother, it seems like the progress is smoother than we expected. Jiang Chun's immortal force and the power of the Flame Phoenix race's bloodline were circulating at the same time. The speed was much faster than before. Yeah, I didn't expect the Grand Elder of Corpse Cliff to be more excited when he saw the corpse of an immortal venerable than a woman. Bai Xiaoyan nodded. Since she had already left the disciple behind, she didn't need to hide her words. Huh? Jiang Chun laughed loudly. After half an hour, the 2 of them returned to Qian's sect. As soon as they arrived at the sect, the 2 puppets followed behind them. Grand Elder, open the door and welcome the guests. Jiang Chun shouted towards the sect. The 2 disciples didn't follow, causing the puppets to stand stiffly on the spot. Big brother Jiang Chun, who are these 2 people? They look so strange. The disciples of Qian's sect standing guard at the door looked at the puppets covered in gray robes. They had never seen such strange guests before. All of you go in. Don't come out without my order. Jiang Chun frowned at them and scolded them in a low voice. The disciples didn't dare to hesitate. They all knew that although Jiang Chun wasn't a member of the sect, he had won the hearts of the 2 elders, Su Qian and Su Yundian. Even the inner disciples with higher innate talent were far inferior to Jiang Chun. After they went in, Su Qian and the others also quickly walked out from inside. Seeing the 2 people in gray robes standing at the sect's entrance, Su Qian had just come out when a mortal force slowly emerged from his body. Jiang Chun, they are... Su Qian sensed. He didn't feel any aura from the 2 people, but their strength was indeed at the 9th level of the immortal venerable realm. Moreover, they seemed to be shrouded in darkness, which made him feel very uncomfortable. Wait, someone will explain it clearly. Jiang Chun kept them in suspense and raised his head to look at the eastern sky. Not only Su Qian, but even Hua Fu and Jiang Yuan also looked over. At the end of his line of sight, 2 figures flashed over. He didn't have the time to look carefully. Following the position of the puppet, They arrived directly behind Jiang Chun. "Seniors, your cultivation is too high. We can't keep up with you at all." One of them had just steadied himself when he leaned against the wall and gasped for breath. In order to keep up with Jiang Chun and Bai Xiaoyun, the immortal energy in their bodies was almost exhausted. "Is that so?" Jiang Chun took off his mask, and the black robe on his body slowly dissipated. "You're Jiang Chun." Seeing this familiar expression, the Shadow Corpse Cliff disciples suddenly remembered the people who had broken into their sect. They looked up and found that the sect before them was the Thousand Harmony sect. Ignoring the puppet, the two of them immediately activated the celestial force in their bodies and flew into the air. Just as they rose into the air, two giant hands suddenly grasped them in midair and lifted them to the front of the sect. "A disciple of Corpse Cliff?" Su Qian asked indifferently as he looked at them. The two of them didn't speak and prepared to send a message to the sect. "You don't have to waste your energy. When you all landed here, I had already sealed off the surroundings. If you don't believe me, you can give it a try." Su Qian loosened his fist, and the huge hand that was holding them disappeared along with it. The two of them didn't listen to Su Qian's words at all. The moment they loosened their grip, they immediately activated their celestial force and prepared to leave. Bang! When they flew above the sect and prepared to escape to the east, they suddenly hit the barrier. The two of them were caught off guard and directly fell down. "TSK, TSK." Su Qian couldn't help but shake his head and sigh. "Great Elder, this time we gain a lot." The reason Corpse Cliff collects the corpses of celestial venerables is to use some kind of method to turn them into puppets that only know how to fight. Jiang Chun took 2 steps forward and directly reached out to pull off the gray robe. 2 puppets appeared in front of everyone. Great Elder and Zhang Yuan only narrowed their eyes slightly, but Hufu directly returned to the sect. Such a disgusting thing, even if they saw it, would cause discomfort. "Activate this thing, and let me have a look." Su Qian flicked his sleeve and said with a smile. The 2 disciples looked at each other and understood that it was impossible to get out of here today. The only thing they could do was to mobilize the puppets to attack Su Qian and escape the moment the barrier loosened. Although this possibility was very small, it was indeed the only way. After retreating more than a dozen steps, their aura suddenly connected with the puppets. Immediately afterward, the puppet that was still standing motionless suddenly burst out a powerful force and rushed toward Jiang Chun and Su Qian. Crack! Bai Xiaoyan pulled out her long sword and jumped in front of Jiang Chun and swung it down with force. The puppet in front of her was cut in half, and the 2 halves of its body fell to the ground. A stinky dark green liquid flowed out from the broken part of the body. Although the upper and lower halves were separated, they both struggled to move forward again. Bai Xiaoyan was about to make a move. Jiang Chen's eyes widened. 2 balls of fire of origin ignited from the corpses, and in a short while, they were completely burned. When the other puppet that attacked Su Qian arrived in front of him, the space instantly distorted and collapsed, rubbing the corpse into it and disappearing without a trace. In less than a minute, the 2 puppets with the strength of immortal venerables were all destroyed. The disciples stood still and did not even have the courage to fight back. They realized that in front of Su Qian's powerful strength, no matter what tricks they used, it was useless. "I'd like to know the situation of Corpse Cliff. Can you tell me about it?" Su Qian walked out of the sect with his hands behind his back, stood in front of the 2, and asked with a kind smile. The 2 suddenly vomited dark green blood and fell to the ground. They committed suicide. The smile on Su Qian's face disappeared, and he shook his head. It seems that these disciples know the situation, but they dare not tell the truth because of the deterrence of the sect. "I really didn't expect that there would be such an evil sect in the Eastern Domain." Zhang Yuan sighed. When Emperor Qinji was still alive, the Eastern Domain was peaceful. Not to mention a sect like Corpse Cliff, even bullying did not exist. Everyone was afraid of the strength of Qinji's sect. Corpse Cliff is not a sect of the Eastern Domain. It's just located in the Eastern Domain. Su Qian waved his sleeves, and the corpses of the 2 disciples and the puppet were pushed into the spatial rift that he had casually opened. Back in the sect, Jiang Chun told Su Qian all the things he saw in Corpse Cliff. After the discussion, Su Qian was ready to see the situation in person. Great Elder, are you serious? Jiang Chen clenched the armrest of the chair and asked in disbelief. How could the words of this old man be false? Su Qian retorted. Chapter 1803. Aren't you restricted by some kind of law? Jiang Chen asked curiously. Haha, I'm helping the eastern region clean up a sect like the Corpse Cliff. I'm not going to the outer region. What kind of law would I violate? Hearing this, Su Qian burst into laughter. He understood what Jiang Chen was talking about. Thank you for your help, Great Elder. Jiang Chen quickly got up and cupped his hands. However, thinking that the sect master of the Black Sect might appear to help, he continued, why don't I go back to the Kunlun Immortal Mountain and bring some helpers? With the strength of the China sect alone, there might be casualties. Do you know anything about our China sect? Su Qian suddenly looked at Jiang Chen with a very strange expression. Our sect hasn't communicated with the outside world for thousands of years. The entire eastern region knows very little about us, including you. I don't know much about it. Jiang Chen shook his head. Although he often went to the China sect, he only came into contact with Su Qian. He only met the other elders, protectors, and many disciples in the sect. He didn't even know their names. If cleaning up the Corpse Cliff would cause us casualties, then the sect would have been destroyed by our enemies in the hundreds of thousands of years it has existed. Second Elder, Third Elder, Fourth Elder, 6 protectors, 7 deacons. Let's go to the main hall for a meeting. As soon as Jiang Chen finished speaking, Su Qian gave an order and floated out of the main hall. Then, under Jiang Chen's perception, the originally peaceful and quiet China sect suddenly erupted with a powerful aura. Then, these auras all gathered towards him. In less than a breath, more than a dozen figures appeared in the main hall. Standing at the front of these people was Su Yundian, who Jiang Chen had met a few times before. In the past, he had only shown his cultivation base of a 9th-level Immortal Monarch. Now he revealed his true strength. 4th-level Immortal King realm. Behind him were 2 other elders, both of whom were half-step Immortal Kings. As for the 6 protectors behind them, they were 3rd-level Immortal Monarchs. The 7 deacons were also half-step Immortal Monarchs. Their strength was not much weaker than the Kunlun Immortal Mountain. He sure has hidden himself well. Jiang Chen couldn't help but sigh with emotion. He remembered that when he'd just met Su Qian had once led a few guardians at the quasi-immortal king realm to the forest to rescue him. In other words, this wasn't Su Qian's full strength, and Su Qian was still concealing something. Not to mention Jiang Chen, even Bai Xiaoyan was a little surprised. He had lived in the Thousand Harmony sect for so long. Other than knowing that Su Qian was an 8th-level Immortal King, the only other person he knew was Su Yunping, who was a 9th-level Immortal Monarch. As for those elders and protectors, they were all Immortal Supremes, not to mention those disciples. To be able to meet a disciple of a true Immortal was considered lucky. From the looks of it, the cultivation of the entire Thousand Harmony sect was suppressed under Su Qian's orders. Jiang Chen, little brat, let's see if our Thousand Harmony sect will pay a price for making Corpse Cliff disappear from the eastern domain. Su Qian waved his hand. With Su Yundian as the leader, everyone suppressed their cultivation once again. I won't, but Jiang Chen was a little shocked. But what? Su Qian chuckled. It's just that the Thousand Harmony sect is obviously so strong. Why did they keep quiet in such a corner of the eastern domain? They could have done something in the immortal world. Jiang Chen didn't hide the doubts in his heart and asked. But there was one thing he didn't say. That was, the sect master of the Thousand Harmony sect had never shown his face. Jiang Chen knew that even Su Qian could reach the 8th-level Immortal King. Most likely, the sect master's cultivation was even higher. The 3 great Immortal Kings might not even be as strong as the sect master. Great Elder, is the sect master of the Thousand Harmony sect higher than the 3 great Immortal Kings? Jiang Chen couldn't resist the curiosity in his heart. In addition, there were no outsiders present, so he asked directly. Who would have thought that as soon as these words came out, the smile on the great elder's face froze. Even the experts standing in the hall fell into silence. For a moment, The atmosphere fell silent. Zhang Yuan and Hua Fu lowered their heads, pretending to be outsiders. Bai Xiaoyan, on the other hand, rubbed her hands awkwardly and kept winking at Jiang Chun. It's like this. Tens of thousands of years ago, our Thousand Harmonies sect encountered a disaster. Unfortunately, the sect master was injured and his cultivation was damaged. Since then, he has been in seclusion. It is precisely because of this reason that the sect is hidden here and almost has no conflicts with the outside sections. In terms of strength, the sect master's cultivation is similar to mine. He is not as strong as the three great immortal kings, and now he is even weaker. Su Qian took a deep breath. He knew that these words had to be told to Jiang Chun. Since he asked today, he just said it. Seclusion for tens of thousands of years? Jiang Chun asked in surprise. Yes, if we count the days, he should come out in about 100 or 1,000 years. Su Qian nodded and said, Great Elder, since the Thousand Harmonies sect is hidden, there is no need to break the rules because of me. I can solve the matter of the corpse cliff myself. Jiang Chun was a little embarrassed. It doesn't matter. The sect master is about to come out. If the big guy doesn't move, I'm afraid he will forget how to operate his immortal power. Su Qian waved his hand and said, Cleaning up the eastern region is the responsibility of my Thousand Harmonies sect. It is not entirely because of you. Cleaning up the eastern region? Responsibility? Hua Fu and Jiang Yuan spoke almost at the same time. The memories of the two were pulled back to the Tianji sect. In the past, Emperor Qinji had once revealed to them that the Tianji sect had a branch in the eastern region. It was a backup plan that he left for himself. In the entire immortal world, no one knew of the existence of this sect. This sect was not only a helper for the Tianji sect when they were in danger, but also a safeguard for the entire eastern region. Because the original intention of Emperor Qinji was to protect the harmony of the entire eastern region on behalf of the sect. Of course, this news, even in the Tianji sect, very few people knew about it. The two of them only heard it from Emperor Qinji by chance. In the entire immortal world, it was even more unknown. Is there anything strange? Su Qian looked at them. It's nothing. What the Great Elder said reminded us of some of the past events in the Tianji sect. Jiang Yuan shook his head. He could not identify the Thousand Harmonies sect as a branch of the Tianji sect because of this. However, the name of the Thousand Harmonies sect is somewhat similar to that of the Tianji sect. In the past, the sect master had received guidance from Emperor Qinji. He remembered the kindness, so he did this. Su Qian's face was calm. Now was not the time to reveal everything. He would not say anything. What is the Great Elder going to do? Jiang Chun did not care about this. The Thousand Harmonies sect was not a branch of the Tianji sect. It did not affect it. If it was, it would be better. There is no plan. Just rush over and directly destroy this sect. If the sect master of the Black Sect dares to intervene, I will just try it with him and see how this person's cultivation is. Su Qian waved his hand. Chapter 1804. Everyone, you have half an hour to prepare. After half an hour, the corpse cliff will completely disappear from the eastern domain. Su Qian ordered in a deep voice. Yes, sir. Everyone, led by Su Yundian, cupped their hands and left. You should also prepare. If possible, I hope to get Hikari's whereabouts from this sect, but the chances are slim. Su Qian looked at Jiang Chun and sighed. I know. Jiang Chun nodded. Hikari was taken away by the sect master of the Black Sect. How could she be in the corpse cliff? Half an hour later, inside the Thousand Harmonies sect, dozens of auras swept out. Many people in the vicinity raised their heads to look after they sensed it. Thousand Harmonies sect. I guess it's been thousands of years since such a large-scale movement, right? You just ascended from the lower realm, so you don't understand. It's been at least tens of thousands of years. I really don't know which sect can make the Thousand Harmonies sect send out so many experts. It seems like they've really provoked trouble. I really didn't expect this sect to be so powerful. I thought it was a declining, third-rate sect. Killing you is as easy as crushing an ant. In the Eastern Domain, when this group of people sensed it, they all began to discuss. However, they were sure of one thing. With so many experts from the Thousand Harmonies sect, They were afraid that some sect or family in the Eastern Domain would completely disappear. Another hour later, everyone, led by Su Qian, appeared at the entrance of the Corpse Cliff. The Corpse Cliff had long sensed the arrival of dozens of powerful forces, and the sect protection grand technique enveloped the entire sect. It was a huge skeleton lying on its stomach in the sky above the sect. A grayish-black gas gradually drifted out from its bones, separating the sect from the outside world. Great Elder Su, I wonder why your Thousand Harmonies sect has sent so many experts to my sect? Shi Cho, who was standing under the skeleton, sensed the powerful immortal force fluctuations not far away. His face was incomparably ugly, but he still pretended to be calm and asked, Shi Cho, as a sect of the Eastern Domain, you've done the dirty things of those foreign sections. The fallen immortal venerables were refined into puppets by you. If we don't get rid of you, won't the entire Eastern Domain have a bad reputation because of you? Su Qian floated in the air with his hands clasped behind his back. What did you say? Shi Cho was surprised. Just as he was thinking about how the Thousand Harmonies sect knew about it, he suddenly remembered that someone had seen the situation in their sect today and even left with 2 immortal venerable level puppets. Shi Cho tried to sense it, but he couldn't. You Thousand Harmonies sect, I have no grudges with you. How dare you suddenly attack us? Do you really think that my Corpse Cliff will be afraid of you? Shi Cho's face was gloomy as he questioned loudly. It's good that you're not afraid. I was afraid that your sect wouldn't be enough to give my Thousand Harmonies sect some exercise. Su Qian sneered. He raised his hand in the air and suddenly swung it down. Su Yundian drank the last mouthful of wine and staggered forward. In the blink of an eye, he arrived in front of the sect. A fist that contained extreme, immortal power suddenly smashed onto the barrier. Under this huge power, the entire barrier trembled twice, and even a few of the skeleton's ribs fell out. F***CK. So violent? Seeing that Su Yundian, a drunken old man, could burst out with such an attack, Jiangchen asked with some surprise. Yundian is good at everything, but he's addicted to wine. Su Qian shook his head and said, if it weren't for the wine pot in his hand, his cultivation would continue to improve. Unfortunately, after the sect master went into seclusion, no one could control him, so he has been indulging. In the time it took to speak, the Corpse Cliff sect protection technique was easily shattered. More than a dozen experts directly rushed into the sect. Although Shi Cho and several other elders could use the sect's secret technique, under the joint attack of Su Yundian and Bai Xiaoyan, these top experts, they soon couldn't hold on. In less than 10 minutes, the entire Corpse Cliff had completely fallen. On the edge of the cliff hundreds of meters away from the Corpse Cliff, Jiang Chun sensed a somewhat familiar fluctuation coming from there. Great Elder, wait here for a moment. I'll take care of something. After saying this to Su Qian, Jiang Chun rushed over there. I'll help you. Su Qian also sensed the soul body of the Black Sect's sect master. The moment Jiang Chun moved, he also immediately rushed over there. Let me try it myself. Jiang Chen's mind moved, and an immortal force barrier blocked Su Qian. This kid really doesn't let me be at ease. Stopping his figure, Su Qian no longer approached, but his eyes were always staring at Jiang Chun. Although the soul body's cultivation was also under the effect of the immortal force, and was almost the same as Jiang Chun, but after all, his main body was the Black Sect's sect master. If they really fought, Jiang Chun might not be his opponent. His figure rushed forward. Jiang Chen's mouth hooked up with a sneer. Just now, he was wondering if he would encounter the Black Sect's sect master, but now he actually encountered him. Jiang Chun had no choice. He wanted to try his current cultivation level to see whether he was a match for the old man. What a madman! Seeing Jiang Chun rushing over, the Black Sect's sect master secretly cursed. He originally wanted to see the situation of the Corpse Cliff here, but he didn't expect that not only was he discovered by Jiang Chun, but this kid even dared to rush over. The reason why he didn't kill Jiang Chun before was that he wanted to exchange Jiang Chen's soul body for what he needed. But now, he didn't dare to kill Jiang Chun because he had been warned. That person's eyes made him feel cold from head to toe. The Black Sect's sect master realized that in the immortal world, he could do anything he wanted. Even if he could turn the world upside down, even if he could bring his father back to life, even if he could capture Jiang Chen's soul body, the only thing he couldn't do was to hurt this person's life. Besides his mother, how could there be such a terrifying person protecting him? The Black Sect master muttered as he quickly flew down the cliff, preparing to escape from Jiang Chen's sight. As long as Su Qian was here, even if he managed to capture Jiang Chen, this soul body wouldn't be a match for Su Qian. So, it would be better for him to go back and check Hikari's cultivation level instead of getting entangled in a meaningless fight with Jiang Chen. As long as this girl's strength could reach the Immortal King realm, then his plan would really start. Don't King run away. Jiang Chen urged the immortal power in his body. When he reached the edge of the cliff, he immediately jumped down. The seven-colored long sword appeared in his hand, and he slashed fiercely at the black figure. Chi! The long sword slashed across the black robe and directly tore it apart. The smile on Jiang Chen's face disappeared as soon as it appeared. It was just a robe. The moment he swung his long sword, the Black Sect master had already moved. Chapter 1805. Jiang Chen, do you want to die so badly? The sect master of the Black Sect steadied himself and looked at Jiang Chen with gloomy eyes. If Su Qian wasn't here, he would definitely take action directly and pull out Jiang Chen's soul and imprison it in the sect. Sect master of the Black Sect. Jiang Chen took a deep breath and stood in the air with his long sword. This was his first official one-on-one confrontation with this person. In the face of this person's unfathomable strength and cultivation, even if this soul was only around the level of an immortal, Jiang Chen still didn't dare to take it lightly. I only killed one of your disciples, and you actually attacked me 3 times in a row. You even kidnapped my disciple. Jiang Chen looked at him and said in a deep voice, as long as you return Hikari to me, the grudge between us will be written off. No matter what you do, I won't care about you. How about it? Do you know that the person you killed was someone I spent 30,000 years to find and 20,000 years to cultivate? The sect master of the Black Sect looked at Jiang Chen. If he didn't want to use him to exchange for his father's bones, if he didn't fear that supreme expert, if Su Qian wasn't here today, he wouldn't have such fear. And Jiang Chen wouldn't be so arrogant in front of him. Looking at the young man in front of him, the sect master of the Black Sect was very unconvinced. He and Jiang Chen were clearly the descendants of the supreme experts in this world. Why did he have to bear this pressure? Since he was born, he had to bear these heavy responsibilities. For tens of thousands of years, he had to fight for this goal. And Jiang Chen could do whatever he wanted in the immortal world with countless experts protecting him. He was clearly just a person who had just ascended from the lower world. I can compensate you, as long as you can send Hikari back. Jiang Chen's attitude was firm. Impossible. Hikari is the best candidate to replace my disciple. She even needs your soul to assist her. The sect master of the Black Sect also shook his head very firmly. I've been kind enough to you. Don't exhaust my patience. I should be the one saying this to you. Jiang Chen's heart sank. From the side of the cliff, several vines suddenly appeared and spread towards the Black Sect master at an extremely fast speed. Then, the 7-colored long sword, which had been infused with the power of thunder, was swung fiercely from the left. Seeing this, the Black Sect master's whole body was covered in a black fog, and his figure dodged to the right. Crack! The array formation descended from the sky and firmly locked him inside. Hand over Hikari obediently. Jiang Chen took a deep breath as he looked at the sect master of the Black Sect in the soul-slaying, spirit-suppressing formation. The sect master of the Black Sect did not speak and tried to break out of the array. But how could Guhua's formation be broken so easily? Moreover, his spiritual body's strength was only around the 5th level of the immortal realm. Jiang Chen, if you're brave enough, come and meet me in the outer realms. Otherwise, you can only see her in your soul form when my plan succeeds. Suddenly, the leader of the Black Sect sneered. Then, the thick fog gushed out uncontrollably from his body and finally filled up the array. Boom! There was a loud bang. His spiritual body exploded in the array. The powerful fluctuations caused the array to break in an instant. Jiang Chun was unprepared and took the full brunt of it. His figure fell heavily on the cliff, spitting out a mouthful of blood, and fell straight down. In the outer realms, in the deepest part of the sect, a barefoot young man who was about 26 or 27 years old and looked similar to Jiang Chun suddenly spat out a mouthful of blood. Cough, cough, cough. The young man coughed violently, and his aura became weak. When he opened his eyes, his pitch-black pupils were filled with hatred for Jiang Chun. He looked up and saw a pitch-black robe hanging on the wall in front of him. Black fog kept drifting out from it. Jiang Chun, if it weren't for this burden, perhaps we could be best friends. The young man stared at the black robe for a while and laughed bitterly. Why are you spitting out blood? A somewhat childish voice sounded. Hikari walked out of the room and looked at the young man sitting in front of her. She asked with some concern, I'm fine. Have you learned all the cultivation methods I taught you? The young man struggled to get up. I'm learning, but I feel that every time I learn a little, my body will feel a little uncomfortable. I don't want to learn anymore. Hikari nodded at first, but soon shook her head. Her smiling face collapsed. Didn't I tell you that if you want to see Jiang Chun again, you need to learn that cultivation method? Whenever you can understand it thoroughly, I will take you to see him. The young man took a deep breath and tried to make his attitude seem gentle. Then I'll go learn it. I haven't seen Master for a long time. Hearing his words, Hikari ran straight back into the room and never came out again. Sect leader, what happened? We sensed that there was a fluctuation in your cultivation. Outside the door, a voice suddenly sounded. The young man spread out his hands. The black robe on the wall directly flew over and shrouded his whole body. Pushing the door open and looking at the people standing outside, the young man slowly opened his mouth. It's nothing. It's just a soul clone of mine that was injured. In the future, without my order, you are not allowed to come here, and you are not allowed to open this door. Do you understand? The young man's voice became very hoarse. Yes, sect leader. These people's pupils shrank and hurriedly agreed. They all knew that in the Black Sect, from the elders to the disciples, if anyone dared to go against the sect leader, they would definitely die. It was said that tens of thousands of years ago, there was a person who had made great contributions to the Black Sect. He broke into the room and saw the true appearance of the sect leader. The sect leader forcibly instilled immortal power into him until his body exploded and he died. Even his soul body was sacrificed by the sect leader. Corpse Cliff was destroyed. When Su Qian couldn't sense Jiang Chun's aura, he realized that something big might have happened. He hurriedly looked under the cliff. Under a giant tree, he saw Jiang Chun, whose aura was weak and whose body was covered in blood. Even if you only have an immortal cultivation, that's still the soul clone of the Black Sect leader. You're really not afraid of death. Reaching out to check Jiang Chun's pulse, Su Qian breathed a sigh of relief after finding that it was only a serious injury and not life-threatening. He picked up Jiang Chun and rushed to the top of the cliff. After Su Yuntian exerted the power of space to make the corpse cliff disappear from the immortal realm completely, Su Qian carried Jiang Chun, who was in a coma, back to the Thousand Harmonies sect with Shircho, who had been captured, and several elders of the corpse cliff. Shircho and the others were locked up in a barrier of the sect. However, when they saw Jiang Chun being carried back by Su Qian, they all laughed complacently. It was a good thing to have a scapegoat before death. Chapter 1806. After resting for an unknown amount of time, Jiang Chun seemed to have entered an unknown territory in a daze. It was different from what he had imagined. Instead, it was like another immortal world. Most of the people there were above the immortal monarch realm. At the bottom of a mountain, Jiang Chun sensed a very majestic and familiar fluctuation of immortal qi. After realizing that it was Wan Cheng's fluctuation, Jiang Chun quickly rushed up the mountain. But before he could reach the stairs, he was suddenly pushed back. Jiang Chun suddenly woke up. He found himself lying on the bed in the guest room of the Thousand Harmonies sect. Thinking of his fight with the soul avatar of the Black Sect Master, Jiang Chun remembered that he had been hit by the fluctuation of his self-destruction and then lost consciousness. You're awake? Huafu just pushed the door open and saw Jiang Chun sitting on the bed. She quickly walked over and asked, "Yes, I just dreamed about the situation in the unknown territory." Jiang Chen frowned and thought carefully, but found that the things that were clear in his mind were gradually becoming blurry. Unknown territory? Have you been there? How did you dream about the situation there? Huafu covered her mouth and laughed. "I think your injuries are too serious. You'll be fine after you recover. I dreamt that in the unknown domain, except for a part of the space that couldn't be seen, everything else was almost the same as in the immortal realm. And I perceived my father's energy fluctuation at the foot of a mountain." Jiang Chen hurried to tell Huafu, afraid that he would forget about it later. "I'll go talk to Great Elder Su Qian and let him check your injuries. If it doesn't work, we can only ask Old Man Lin to send some medicine from the Heaven and Earth Pharmacy." Huafu was more worried about Jiang Chen's injuries at this time. Okay. Jiang Chen didn't think too much about it. He just thought that he missed Wan Cheng too much. On the mountain peak, Wan Cheng was laughing on the bed. Beside him, a woman as gentle as water was glaring at him. Even if she was angry, she still gave people a very gentle feeling. "Is it fun?" the woman asked. "I sensed that my son was heavily injured and wanted to ask him to come here and ask about the situation." Noticing that the woman seemed to be really angry, Wan Cheng's smile froze on his face. He stood up and lowered his head. "You're harming Jiang Chen by letting him in." The woman reached out to grab Wan Cheng's ear and whispered into his ear, "I'm telling you, he's learned too many bad habits from you. If he doesn't go through some hardships, he won't be able to achieve anything." Okay. He came out of your stomach. I'll listen to you. I'll listen to you." Wan Cheng kept sucking in cold air. "At least you know your place. But let me tell you, Bai Xianling is about to break through the barrier of the unknown domain. If it wasn't for your son calling him back several times, I'm afraid he would have already appeared at the entrance of the sect." Letting go of his hand, the woman took 2 steps forward and looked at the scenery below. Jiang Chen's spirit body was pulled over by Wan Cheng. She saw that the immortal monarchs and even immortal kings were all experts in her sect. Fortunately, she reacted in time and beat Jiang Chen back. The unknown domain was another world in the immortal world. But below, except for a few people who knew about it, the others didn't even have the qualifications to come into contact with the unknown domain, let alone understand the situation inside. And only by breaking through the barrier, establishing a firm foothold here, and establishing a sect, would they have the opportunity to develop their own forces and bring the people they wanted to bring up. "Why are you abandoning me?" Wan Cheng was a little nervous. "I'm abandoning you my ass." The woman turned her head, put her hands on her hips, and questioned. "Wan Cheng, let me ask you, other than you, what other man have I been in contact with? If you're going to be like this, then don't enjoy your life here. It's better for you to return to your Kunlun immortal mountain and be sealed." "Wife, I'm wrong." Wan Cheng smiled cheekily and went forward to hug the woman in his arms shamelessly. His injuries are not light. He needs a long time to recuperate. Su Qian felt Jiang Chen's pulse and looked at Jiang Chen with some disdain. If he had followed him back then, he wouldn't have fallen to such a state. "Great Elder, the Black sect leader's soul clone was forced to self-destruct by me." Jiang Chen grinned. Even when he had fought against Xian Yi and Xian Er alone in the Jade Sword School, he hadn't been at a disadvantage. And his soul clone self-destructed and almost killed you. Don't tell me you're not going to save Ikari? Hearing this, Su Qian was even more disdainful. Jiang Chen's interest waned, and the smile on his face disappeared. "I've questioned him and asked him to hand Ikari over." Taking a deep breath, Jiang Chen said in a low voice, "He said I killed his disciple, and Hikari is this disciple's replacement. Also, he mentioned that he needs my soul clone again. But I'm a little curious. Since he needs it, why didn't he make a move on me directly? Maybe it's because of the promise of 2 realms and the promise of 1,000 years." Su Qian didn't know the relationship between Jiang Chen, Bai Xianling, and Gu Hua, so he could only guess. If he dares to do anything to Hikari and Hikari, I will not let him go. Jiang Chen gritted his teeth and punched the bed. When Jiang Chen was recuperating, Su Qian, Bai Xiaoyun, and the others had interrogated Shichou and the other elders several times. As for the matter of Corpse Cliff, as long as Su Qian asked, Cho would tell him directly. Anyway, now that the sect was destroyed, even if he told Su Qian, nothing would happen. But as for the matter of Black Sect, Cho kept his mouth shut. Even if Su Qian destroyed his body, even if Wafu burned him with the flame of origin and endured great pain, Cho didn't say a word. Time passed day by day. Although Jiang Chun was injured, he also experienced a leisurely life. Every day, other than sitting on the bed in a daze, he would find a random Qianhe sect disciple to brag to them. At the same time, he would think about the words of Black Sect's sect master and the unknown realm in his dream. After so long, Jiang Chun had almost forgotten everything. The only thing he remembered was that under a mountain, he sensed Wan Cheng's cultivation. But thinking about it, Jiang Chun also felt that it was just a dream. Even Bai Xianling said that it was very dangerous. His father was just an immortal lord. How could he be there? This old fart might be having fun somewhere in the immortal realm and owe a lot of debt. Maybe tomorrow, another bank would come to Kunlun Immortal Mountain to collect the debt. There's a message from Kunlun Immortal Mountain, asking about your current situation. When Jiang Chun was in seclusion to study the formation books given by Gu Hua, Bai Xiaoyan pushed the door open and walked in. You told them? Jiang Chun looked nervous. Chapter 1807. If Xian Yu and Bai Fengyu knew that he was seriously injured, they would probably rush over. He didn't say anything. The mountain gate found out that there are 3 sect masters in the north region. They gathered together and seemed to be discussing something. The first mountain master thinks that they might be subsects of the Black Sect. He has already sent people to investigate. Bai Xiaoyan shook her head and said, maybe we destroyed the Black Cloud sect in Corpse Cliff and even subdued the Citra family, which made the Black Sect master a little worried that the subsects would be found out and eliminated by us. Jiang Chun wasn't surprised by the news. But now that they've gathered together, they've been exposed. Yes, let's see if we can find any information from these sections. Bai Xiaoyan nodded. Is there anything else? Jiang Chun asked when he saw Bai Xiaoyan's worried look. 6 of the 18 mountains in the overseas Immortal Mountains have rebelled. Bai Xiaoyan continued to nod. Rebel? This news surprised Jiang Chun. Back then, this group of people was beaten into submission by the Divine Secret Pavilion. How could they dare to rebel? Master left the sect for an unknown territory, and you, the sect master, are not in the pavilion. Even the list was updated after I asked the junior brothers to find a new junior brother to take over your job. As for me, your senior brother, he has been accompanying you for a long time and hasn't appeared in the sect for a long time. I heard from Xiaolan that these 6 sects gradually became rebellious after they didn't find us several times in a row. Finally, they completely broke away from our control. Now, these 6 mountains have joined forces and are ready to deal with us at any time. Bai Xiaoyan held her head. Who would have thought that after coming out with Jiang Chun for so long, the backyard of the sect was on fire? Hiss! Jiang Chun lay on the bed helplessly. Now that there were so many complicated things in front of him, he really didn't have the mood to care about the overseas Immortal Mountains. I've already asked Xiaolan to bring her junior brothers and sisters to deal with it. However, Jiang Chun, back then, there were only a few immortal kings who followed you out of the Immortal Mountains. They know of your strength, but the others don't. I'm worried that if 6 Immortal Mountains break away, there might be a 7th or 8th. If we weren't here, the junior brothers and sisters in the pavilion might not be a match for them. Bai Xiaoyan frowned as she analyzed. Although Jiang Chun was the sect master, he knew that his junior brother's thoughts were not on the sect at all. As the eldest senior brother, of course he had to support the sect. Then let's go back. Jiang Chun turned over and got off the bed. Not for the time being. You should recuperate first and see if Xiaolan can handle it. If she can't, she will send me a message. It won't be too late for us to go back then. Bai Xiaoyan stretched out her hand and pressed Jiang Chun on the bed. All right, I'll listen to you. Jiang Chun felt pain as soon as he got up. He followed Bai Xiaoyan's instructions and continued to lie down. Bai Xiaoyan stayed in the room for a while, then pushed the door open and left. Jiang Chun continued to look at the formation. With his current cultivation, he could only do as he pleased in the immortal world with the support of the experts behind him. However, it was still not as good as raising his own cultivation. Nearly 100 days passed. Jiang Qin's injuries had almost recovered. He had also gradually comprehended the tactical formation books Gu had given him. He was able to put them to good use. There was no new news from Kunlun Immortal Mountain. When Jiang Qin went to ask Bai Xiaoyan about the situation of the Immortal Mountains overseas, she refused to say anything. She insisted on waiting until Jiang Qin's cultivation had completely recovered before telling him. Jiang Qin didn't pursue the matter. He guessed that it wasn't a big deal. If the experts of the Six Mountains really dared to hurt Bai Xiaolan or even attack the Tianji Pavilion, then Bai Xiaoyan wouldn't be able to stay in the Thousand Harmonies sect so easily. From the initial relaxed state, Jiang Qin felt a little bored now. He even missed Bai Fengyu and Xianyu. However, before his injuries recovered, he couldn't return to Kunlun Immortal Mountain. Therefore, Jiang Qin found a way to pass the time. That was to find the deacons of the Thousand Harmonies sect. This group of people were all half-step immortal monarchs. They were suitable test subjects. These protectors were afraid of hurting the injured Jiang Qin again. They were also afraid of restraining their strength too much and making Jiang Qin feel bored. They all had a headache and couldn't wait to leave the sect and hide for a few days. Unfortunately, due to Su Qian's power, they could only submit. During the practice with these deacons, Jiang Qin's mastery of the formation became more and more perfect. Even his injuries gradually recovered. The most effective thing that could heal his injuries in such a short time was the wood attribute immortal technique. Relying on the ability to absorb the wood attribute immortal energy nearby, Jiang Qin's injuries recovered faster. It was so fast that even Su Qian was a little surprised. When Jiang Qin's injuries were completely healed, a piece of news coincidentally came. Tianji Pavilion. There was trouble. Bai Xiaolan led 3 junior brothers and sisters to visit the Six Mountains. In the end, they were jointly detained. Hearing the news, Bai Xiaoyan immediately jumped up. Jiang Qin also couldn't bear it. The two of them hit it off and immediately prepared to return to the Tianji Pavilion to settle this matter. If the Six Mountains could apologize, they could accept it. However, if they insisted on not returning, then there was no need for them to continue existing. Don't be impulsive. Su Qian also received the news from the Tianji Pavilion. He was afraid that Jiang Qin might lose his mind under impulse, just like how he was seriously injured when facing the soul clone of the Black Sect's sect master. Don't worry, Grand Elder. The Immortal Mountains overseas are no match for me. Jiang Qin smiled faintly. Fire Lotus Jiang Yuan, please come with me. Bai Xiaoyan looked at the two people sitting in the hall and asked in a deep voice. No problem. The two of them agreed at the same time. Even if it wasn't for Jiang Qin's face, they wouldn't stand idly by just because of the time they spent with Bai Xiaoyan. Grand Elder, Shi Chou, and the others wait for me to come back and interrogate them. Jiang Qin cupped his hands and bid farewell to Su Qian. The 4 of them turned into flowing light and quickly left the Thousand Harmonies sect. Be careful! Su Qian quickly followed and shouted at the afterimages in the sky. When the 4 of them were completely out of sight, he hurriedly returned to the sect. Where's Elder Yunding? After searching for a while, Su Qian couldn't find Su Yunding, so he grabbed a deacon and asked quickly. When Jiang Qin and the others left, Elder Yunding also left. He said that he had something to deal with. The deacon had never seen Su Qian so anxious before and could only answer quickly. Phew! Hearing this, Su Qian was relieved. He knew that Su Yunding must have gone out to protect Jiang Qin. Chapter 1808. At this moment, Su Yundian was flying towards the northern region. He was some distance away from Jiang Qin and the other 3, so that he would not be discovered, but he would not lose them. Lying in the air, Su Yundian's figure flashed past, but he was drinking from a wine pot in his hand. As he drank, he glanced at the place where Qin's sect was. He could guess that Su Qian was in the sect, looking for him. By the time you inform me, I'm afraid you'll be long gone. Touching the beard on his chin, Su Yundian said with a chuckle. From Qin's sect to Heavenly Secret Pavilion, the 4 of them only took half a day. After arriving, looking at the somewhat deserted courtyard, Jiang Qin could not help but sigh. Bai Xinling had left, Bai Xiaoyan had left, and his sect had not been around. The entire sect seemed to have lost its look. However, after sensing the two familiar auras, many disciples ran out from inside. Jiang Chun, Bai Xiaoyan, and some of the more sensitive junior sisters burst into tears on the spot. The junior brothers also kept sighing. All of you, pull yourself together. You are the disciples of Heavenly Secret Pavilion, the inheritors of white-robed, immortal king's legacy, and my junior brothers. Bai Xiaoyan frowned and sternly reprimanded them. Sect leader, eldest senior brother. After senior sister Xiaolan received the news of you, she brought a few immortal king senior brothers to the overseas immortal mountain. She has not returned for more than 10 days. We are worried that a junior brother in the first layer of the immortal king realm stepped forward and cupped his hands towards Jiang Chun and Bai Xiaoyan. Look at you now. Do you still look like an immortal king? Bai Xiaoyan punched him on the shoulder. If I see you like this in the future, get out of Heavenly Secret Pavilion, understand? Understood. Eldest senior brother. This person straightened his back, and the expression on his face disappeared. He wasn't the only one. All of the Heavenly Secrets Pavilion's disciples were standing ramrod straight. As for the female disciples, they wiped away their tears. Everyone quietly waited for Jiang Chun and Bai Xiaoyan to speak. Everyone immediately follows sect leader and me to the overseas immortal mountain. They said that if anyone dares to hurt Bai Xiaolan or anyone from Heavenly Secret Pavilion, we will wash their 6 mountains with blood. Bai Xiaoyan nodded in satisfaction when she saw that the atmosphere had been lifted. Follow me. Jiang Chun turned around and walked out of the Heavenly Secrets Pavilion. Bai Xiaoyan followed closely behind. The other disciples were very self-aware. The male disciples followed Jiang Yuan, while the female disciples followed Huafu. The group of people left in a grandiose manner. None of them hid their auras. This strength was even stronger than when the Thousand Harmonies sect went to destroy the Een Corpse Cliff. However, most of the immortal kings of the Divination Pavilion were just idling around in the pavilion. They had relied on Bai Xinling to advance to the immortal king realm. Other than Bai Xiaoyan, Bai Xiaolan, and a few others, the rest of them did not have any actual combat experience. At most, they would spar with their fellow disciples in the sect every day. Therefore, without the command of Bai Xinling and Bai Xiaoyan, they lost their sense of propriety in this matter. This majestic force swept straight to the immortal mountains in the outer seas. Looking at the 18 towering mountains, Bai Xiaoyan stopped in midair and asked, "Do you know where Xiaolan and the other junior brothers and sisters are trapped?" "There." One of the junior brothers pointed at the mountain furthest away. Illusory Beast Mountain. Looking at the mountain that was faintly showing the shape of a beast, Bai Xiaoyan said indifferently, "Then let's start with this sect." The group of people uniformly landed on the mountain. When the aura spread out, some of the weaker chairs in the illusory Beast Mountain could not withstand the terrifying pressure and knelt down on the ground. "Who is it? How dare you break into our sect?" When they sensed the aura, several people walked out from the main hall in front of them. The one walking at the front was the sect leader of the illusory beast sect, Gao Yuan. Jiang Chun stepped forward, looked at him, and said, "For the sake of your illusory beast sect relying on us in the past, hand over Bai Xiaolan and the other disciples of the Divination Pavilion, and we can spare your sect this time." Ouch! Seeing Jiang Chun, Gao Yuan laughed out loud. "I was wondering who it was. So it's the leader of our Outer Seas Immortal Mountain Alliance." He did not put Jiang Chun in his eyes at all. When the White Robe Immortal King was still here, he was a little afraid. But now, the White Robe Immortal King had disappeared for so long. He did not even appear when they left the Alliance and the Divination Pavilion, and even attacked the disciples of the Divination Pavilion. Therefore, they naturally believed that the White Robe Immortal King had either given up on the Heaven Secret Pavilion or died outside. Of course, Gao Yuan was more inclined to the first point. He thought that the White Robe Immortal King must have seen that the Divination Pavilion was too poor and directly gave up. "You still know that I'm the leader?" Jiang Chun sneered. "Taking advantage of my absence, you dare to rebel. Do you think I can't deal with you? A mere third-layer immortal realm cultivator is really talking nonsense." Gao Yi, let him see the power of our illusory beast sect. With a wave of Gao Yuan's hand, a black shadow flew out of the hall and fell to the ground. Bai Xiaoyan lowered her voice and said to Jiang Chun, "If I remember correctly, Gao Yi's strength is enough to rank in the top 5 in the illusory beast sect. He is a 6th-layer immortal monarch realm cultivator. Coupled with the sect's unique immortal technique, I'm afraid he's around the immortal king realm. I don't need to do anything." Jiang Chen's expression was relaxed. As he spoke, Gao Yi had already used an immortal technique. His entire body rapidly expanded, and he turned into a black bear. As he roared, even the ground trembled. "Let me see if you really have the ability." Jiang Chen also roared behind him. A shadow appeared. Jiang Chun returned to his original body and stepped in front of Jiang Chun. An immortal ape? Seeing the giant beast suddenly appear in front of Jiang Chun, not only Gao Yi, but also Gao Yuan's heart trembled. They didn't expect Jiang Chun to have a spirit beast by his side. In the immortal realm, the 6 great spirit beast clans in the southern region were the only remaining spirit beast clans from ancient times. They had the ability to suppress the bloodline of any spirit beast in the world. Although Gao Yi used his immortal technique to transform, after thousands of years of cultivation, when he turned into a black bear, he was almost no different from a real spirit beast. Naturally, he would be suppressed by the bloodline. Gao Yuan raised his head and asked worriedly, "Can you withstand it?" "It shouldn't be a problem." Gao Yi stared at Jiang Yuan. Although his bloodline prevented him from using his true strength, his cultivation had already risen to the quasi-immortal king realm. However, the immortal ape in front of him had only reached the 5th layer of the immortal king realm. The difference in strength gave him a lot of confidence. He even had the illusion that he could trample Jiang Yuan underfoot. Chapter 1809. There's still a gap between your strength and his. Jiang Chun was a little worried. After coming out of the immortal emperor's tomb, Jiang Yuan had only faced opponents below the immortal monarch realm. He hadn't fought a high-level opponent yet. "If I can't get rid of him, I'll be a disgrace to the immortal ape race." Jiang Yuan grinned. However, the usually honest and straightforward young man now looked a little scary. "How dare an immortal monarch realm ape fight me?" Gao Yi roared, as if he was trying to increase his aura. He strode toward Jiang Yuan, his claws glowing with black light slashing at Jiang Yuan's chest. Judging by the length of his claws, if hit, Jiang Yuan's chest would be instantly pierced. Under everyone's gaze, Gao Yi and Jiang Yuan collided. At first, Jiang Chun was worried that Jiang Yuan wouldn't win. But the moment they clashed, Jiang Chen's uneasiness disappeared without a trace. Gao Yi's sharp claws couldn't penetrate Jiang Yuan's thick fur at all. In the midst of the tearing, he was slapped hard in the face. "Is this a battle between spirit beasts?" A female disciple widened her eyes at the scene before her. Cough, cough. Jiang Chen coughed twice, but didn't explain. Although the two of them looked like they were wrestling, every time they touched, it was a collision of immortal qi. Waves of invisible waves spread out. Jiang Chen's side was fine, since they were all above the immortal monarch realm. On the other hand, the illusory beast sect wasn't so optimistic. Apart from a few experts who could hold on, the disciples with decent strength were desperately resisting the waves. A few of them were even almost blown off the mountain. Even some of the nearby, immortal mountains could sense the ripples. But they didn't care at all. After all, Jiang Yuan was a spirit beast and didn't cultivate the Divination Pavilion's cultivation method. They thought the illusory beast sect had obtained some powerful immortal art. Smack! A dull thud sounded in everyone's ears. Then Gao Yi, who'd been fighting a moment ago, retreated in an instant and crashed into the main hall. The originally grand hall was instantly crushed by him. "What bullshit illusory beast sect? It's just stealing our spirit beast's immortal method." Jiang Yuan looked at it with disdain and spat again. Gao Yi's figure instantly shrank. However, his body was already buried in the ruins of the main hall and could no longer be seen. "Destroy my sect?" Gao Yuan was instantly enraged. From the collapsed sect, a few more immortal kings appeared. This was one of the strongest people in the Phantom Beast sect. White-clothed soul control barrier. Bai Xiaoyun's robes suddenly fluttered despite the lack of wind as he spoke. The dozen or so divination pavilion disciples behind Jiang Chen instantly took up positions at the eye of the formation. Then, Bai Xiaoyun's robe suddenly floated up from her body and into the air. Then, a strong wind blew and her robe expanded, covering the entire mountain peak. These bastards have actually joined forces. Gao Yuan had a bad feeling. He dared to betray the divination pavilion and no longer be a member of the Immortal Mountain Alliance because he knew that after Bai Xianling left, the disciples of the divination pavilion, even if they were immortal kings, would not be able to achieve anything. But now, under the command of Bai Xianling, they were completely different from before. He only had 4 immortal kings, while the divination pavilion had more than 10. Gao Yuan realized that he was no longer a match for this group of people. If he surrendered now, he might still be able to live. If he didn't surrender, the whole sect would be destroyed. We surrender. Thinking of this, Gao Yuan immediately withdrew his cultivation and shouted to Bai Xiaoyan, who was standing at the front. I really want to kill you. Bai Xiaoyan's mouth trembled. Why didn't he say it earlier or later? Why did he say it after she used her special skill? This feeling was like peeing halfway and suddenly finding that she had peed on her clothes. If she stopped, she would feel uncomfortable. But if she continued to pee, it would be too disgusting. However, in order not to scare the other sects of the Immortal Mountain Alliance, Bai Xiaoyan suppressed the discomfort in her heart and removed the barrier. Where are the disciples of the divination pavilion? Looking at Gao Yuan, Bai Xiaoyan asked loudly. They are here. They are here. Gao Yuan quickly said, and then waved his hand vigorously. Then, Bai Xiaolan and the others ran out of the dilapidated hall. Seeing this scene, Jiang Yuan scratched his head awkwardly. If he didn't stop and this group of people was smashed to death, it would be really troublesome. But on second thought, this group of people's strength was not bad. How could they be smashed to death? Bai Xiaoyan, the people of the divination pavilion are all here. It was just a misunderstanding between us. I will definitely come to apologize to you another day. Gao Yuan followed behind Bai Xiaolan and the others and smiled embarrassedly at Bai Xiaoyan. 3 days later, inform all the sects that betrayed the alliance of the Immortal Mountain Alliance to come to the divination pavilion. If they don't come, don't blame my master for taking action and making the entire Immortal Mountain Alliance disappear from the immortal world. Bai Xiaoyan snorted coldly and put on her robe. Ah! Gao Yuan cried out. They dared to resist because they found that Bai Xianling was not here. But hearing Bai Xiaoyan's words, it seemed that Bai Xianling could come back at any time. That white immortal king, is your master still in the sect? Gao Yuan asked tentatively, and a smile appeared on his face. Of course he is, but he is in seclusion. Bai Xiaoyan said naturally, without any hesitation. So Bai Xianling is in seclusion. Gao Yuan trembled in fear. Who is Bai Xianling? She is not weaker than the 3 immortal kings and has the ability to break through to the immortal emperor realm. Now that she has been in seclusion for such a long time, she must be working hard towards the legendary step. And they dared to resist. Thinking of this, Gao Yuan's body went soft. White immortal king, I will do as you say. But if the other 6 sects do not want to admit their mistakes, when your master comes out of seclusion in the future, you must put in a good word for me. Gao Yuan suddenly said flatteringly. We will talk about it when the time comes. Bai Xiaoyan did not know when her master would come back. It seemed that she would only appear when Jiang Chan was in danger. But at this moment, she still wanted to trick Gao Yuan. Cough cough, our illusion beast sect can not only transform into giant beasts to fight, but our female disciples can also transform into foxes and kittens. They are very cute. White Immortal King, do you want to consider? Gao Yuan did not send a private message. He was determined to pull Bai Xianling to his side. Do you know her? Bai Xiaoyan was not moved at all and pointed at Bai Xiaolan. Of course I know her. She is a female disciple of the divination pavilion. She seems to be your junior sister. She is quite pretty. Gao Yuan looked at Bai Xiaolan and said, Chapter 1810. Then I'll tell you another identity. She's the daughter of my master and him. Bai Xiaoyan suddenly smiled and said in a despicable manner, "What?" This news was simply too shocking to Gao Yuan. He sat down on the ground and could not calm down for a long time. If Bai Xiaoyan's master was Bai Xianling, wouldn't this girl be Bai Xuanling's daughter? Thinking of this, Gao Yuan even wanted to slap himself a few times. Why did he kidnap Bai Xuanling's daughter? He was digging his own grave. White immortal king, you have to help me. This time, Gao Yuan did not care about his image. He tugged at Bai Xiaoyan's robe and begged for mercy loudly. 3 days later, I hope to see people from the 6 sects at the entrance of the Heaven's Secret Pavilion. Bai Xiaoyan did not give him a chance to continue speaking. After finishing her words, she left with all the people. Several people from the Fantasy Beast sect came up immediately. "Get out of here, all of you. I want to be alone here." Gao Yuan shouted at them and finally could not help crying loudly. He regretted that he had agreed to join forces with the other sects and even regretted that he had locked Bai Xiaolan in his own sect. After returning to the Heaven's Secret Pavilion, Jiang Chun did not mention anything about Emperor Qianji. He only introduced Hua Fu and Jiang Yuan as friends that he had met outside. "You still know to come back." Unexpectedly, Bai Xiaolan did not even look at the two of them. Instead, she looked at Jiang Chun with disdain and said, "Your cultivation has improved very quickly. In the blink of an eye, you have become a divine immortal from a genuine immortal. It seems that you have completely forgotten your identity as the pavilion leader of the Heaven's Secret Pavilion." Third senior sister, I think eldest senior brother is more suitable to be the sect leader. Taking advantage of this opportunity, Jiang Chun quickly pushed Bai Xiaoyan in front of him. "You see, when he went to save you, he was in high spirits and full of vigor. I even said a few words to save you. In terms of strength and qualifications, eldest senior brother is more suitable to be the sect leader than me." Jiang Chun said as he gave Bai Xiaoyan a thumbs up. He wanted nothing more than to leave the divination pavilion right now. Such a poor sect would be emptied out by him sooner or later. "Come on, since Master gave you the sect master, he must have his reasons. You just have to be honest." Bai Xiaoyan shook her head and refused. "In my opinion, eldest senior brother is the most suitable candidate to be the sect leader. You've been away for so long, yet you didn't come back to update the ranking list. Our divine secret pavilion status in the entire immortal realm has fallen. Fortunately, eldest senior brother sent us a message, and we recruited a new junior brother." Bai Xiaolan coldly snorted. "Right, let me see where my savior is." Jiang Chun immediately became spirited. Sweeping his gaze across all the disciples, he found a shorty. "It really is little junior brother." Seeing that this person was only about 12 or 13 years old, Jiang Chun was a little shocked. At the same time, he was certain that this child's talent was not too bad. "Actually, Jiang Chun and I have not completely forgotten about the sect after being away for so long. It's just that we have been delayed by many things." Bai Xiaoyan hurriedly explained for Jiang Chun. As he spoke, he reached out and touched his storage ring. The first thing that came out was the storage ring scattered all over the ground. Then came the immortal jade promissory notes that he had taken from Jiang Chun's hand. There were more than 10 notes of various sizes. "Wow, where did you go to get rich?" "Eldest senior brother, when you go out in the future, can you take me with you?" Seeing the amount of promissory notes, many junior brothers and sisters widened their eyes and said excitedly. Living in a destitute sect like the Divination Pavilion, they had never seen such a large amount. At least he still has some conscience. Looking at the promissory notes, Bai Xiaolan's anger eased a little. "Xiaolan, you have all suffered a lot in the overseas Immortal Mountain. You should go back and rest. Let's have a good meal in the evening. It just so happens that Jiang Chun and I haven't been back for a long time. Take it as an apology." Bai Xiaoyan distributed the storage rings and kept the promissory notes before speaking to Bai Xiaolan and the others. "Okay, eldest senior brother." Bai Xiaolan nodded lightly. Seeing that there were still many disciples in the hall, Bai Xiaoyan said to them, "Don't just stand there. When Xiaolan wakes up, tell her what you want to eat. I will go out and buy it for all of you tonight." "Okay, eldest senior brother." The group of disciples shouted loudly again. After sending them off, only the 4 of them were left. Eldest senior brother, I want to go out for a while. Jiangchen put away the smile on his face and said in a deep voice, Are you coming back for dinner tonight? Bai Xiaoyan looked outside. The sun was shining brightly. It was just past noon. Let's take a look. Seeing that Hua Fu and Zhang Yuan were about to follow, Jiangchen quickly stopped them. You guys also rest in the sect. I will go by myself. Okay. They knew that Jiangchen wouldn't cause any trouble in the Divination Pavilion's territory, so they didn't follow him out. The place Jiangchen had arrived at was none other than the overseas immortal graveyard. This was his mother's sect outside the immortal world. The stone tablet said that it was waiting for him in the vast wilderness. But after going out, Jiangchen had too many doubts in his heart. Was there any difference between the vast wilderness and the unknown regions of the immortal world? He felt the immortal power of his father. Was that where his mother lived? Jiangchen vaguely remembered that there seemed to be a sect under the mountain. Those immortal lords and immortal kings were more like people from the sect. According to the sect leader of the Heartsword sect, his mother should be a great success immortal king or even an immortal emperor. With such strength, she must be the sect leader of that sect. But the overseas immortal graveyard was clearly her sect, so why would she establish another sect in an unknown region for no reason? These pieces of information were like a dense fog, entangling Jiangchen's head and making him feel confused. Maybe Brother Murong knows a little, Jiangchen muttered. This was the reason why he came here. Murong Chantian was also an expert with half a foot in the immortal emperor realm. Although he was trapped in the immortal graveyard, he definitely knew more about the immortal world than him. Because of his relationship with Murong Chantian, he entered very smoothly. Looking at those people who were farming, Jiangchen quickened his pace. He didn't want people from other sects to see him. He flew all the way and finally arrived at Murong Chantian's place. Murong Chantian was very happy about Jiangchen's sudden visit. He prepared wine and dishes and busied himself for nearly an hour before stopping. Jiangchen didn't ask her directly. He didn't want to give her the impression that he had come here just to get information. After 3 rounds of wine, Jiangchen was already a little drunk. Chapter 1811. Brother Murong, I want to ask, where is the mysterious woman in the immortal tomb now? Jiangchen asked tentatively. I don't know. Maybe she's at the entrance of the immortal tomb, maybe she's on the continent, or maybe she entered other areas. Murong Chantian sighed and said, Then, does Brother Murong know about the great wilderness and the unknown areas? Jiangchen asked again. Oh, your cultivation has improved, but you shouldn't have come into contact with this level. Murong Chantian raised his head and looked at Jiangchen and asked with some surprise. I heard it by chance. I'm just a little curious. Jiangchen explained casually. The great wilderness was once included in the unknown area, but it seemed to have been found out by an immortal emperor. Murong Chantian thought for a moment and then said, If you're talking about the unknown area, it's too big. Even if you add up the continent and the entire sea, it might not be 1/10 of the unknown area. And in the immortal world, there might not be only one continent. Some experts can open up space independently. The immortal tomb is the best evidence. Jiangchen couldn't hold it in anymore. After listening to Murong Changtian's words, he felt that his mind was even more chaotic. He might as well not listen. Your strength is still very weak. Maybe when you reach the immortal king realm, or maybe when you're close to the immortal emperor realm, you'll naturally be able to sense it. For now, you should cultivate. No matter how curious you are about other things, there's no result. I can't go out of the immortal tomb, so I can't help you investigate. Murong Chantian sighed helplessly. After a moment, he drank all the wine in the wine pot in one breath. With his cultivation, if he was in the outside world, he would definitely be able to do something. Even if it was an unknown area, he would be able to explore it. But now, he could only be sealed in the immortal tomb. As long as he didn't break through to the immortal emperor realm, he couldn't go out. But if it was so easy to become an immortal emperor, then the immortal emperor realm would be worthless. By the way, Brother Murong, The ruins in the immortal tomb belong to that woman's sect, right? Seeing that he couldn't get any valuable information, Jiangchen changed his question. And Murong Chantian leaned on the table and nodded unconsciously. Do you think she will establish a new sect after leaving this place? Jiangchen stared at him and asked word by word. Maybe, maybe not. She has been gone for far too long. So long that the people in the immortal burial ground overseas have to rely on portraits to remember her appearance. Those newborn children have never even heard of her legend. They only know that the ruins of the immortal burial ground are not to be casually approached. Murong Chantian shook his head. After drinking a pot of strong wine, even he couldn't hold on without using his immortal energy. Did she say anything when she left? Jiangchen thought for a while and continued to ask. His mother had left him 2 clues. One was from the immortal graveyard overseas, and the other was from his dream. Now that the 2 clues could be gathered together, Jiangchen wanted to ask more clearly. She said, 2 caddies of beef and a pot of soja wine. Under Jiangchen's gaze, Murong Chantian slowly opened his mouth. However, the words he said made Jiangchen so angry that he wanted to flip the table. Seeing that he was indeed drunk and unconscious, Jiangchen didn't continue to ask. Instead, he got up and found a blanket to cover him. Although Murong Changtian's explanation made Jiangchen even more puzzled from a certain point of view, it also became a little clearer. That was when his cultivation increased, the sect master of the Black Sect would no longer be his opponent. The mystery of the unknown area could be solved, his mother could be found, and the reason why Emperor Qianji protected his mother and the Black Sky Emperor, which led to the fall of both sides, would also be clear. Thank you, Brother Murong. Jiangchen found a pen and paper, left a note, and pushed the door open to leave. Similarly, without alerting the other sects, Jiangchen quietly slipped out of the immortal graveyard overseas. When he returned to the divine secret pavilion, the night had already shrouded. Jiangchen had just entered the door when Bai Xiaoyan walked out from inside, muttering. She was holding a note in her hand. However, the note was very long. When Bai Xiaoyan walked to the door of the sect, the note had just been dragged out of the hall. Eldest senior brother, what are you doing? Looking at the densely written words on the note, Jiangchen thought that it was some kind of mysterious immortal art left behind by Xianling. He quickly picked it up from the ground and asked. This group of people really didn't treat me as their eldest senior brother. I asked them to tell me what they wanted to eat. While we have enough immortal jades now, we will try our best to satisfy them so that they can eat at night. I didn't expect them to be so impolite. One for each person, there are hundreds of things. Bai Xiaoyan used all her strength to roll the note into a ball and stuffed it into her storage ring. All right, you came back just in time. Let's split up. If it was just me alone, I'm afraid I won't be able to come back tomorrow. Thinking of Jiangchen, Bai Xiaoyan quickly pulled out half of the items from her storage ring and stuffed it into Jiangchen's hand. She turned into a stream of light and flew towards the nearest town. What the? Jiangchen looked at the long note in his hand. The densely packed food on it made him dizzy. If he had known earlier, he would have stayed in the immortal graveyard overseas and not come back. He knew that it was pitch black outside. Only then did Jiangchen and Bai Xiaoyan meet up at the entrance of the sect, panting. After distributing the food to each disciple, the 2 of them lay on the floor of the hall, panting heavily. All right, why didn't Feng Yu come back? Bai Xiaolan asked while eating the roasted meat. I heard that you were in trouble and came back in a hurry. I didn't have time to call her. Moreover, her strength is too low. Not only can she not help, she will also worry for nothing. Jiangchen waved his hand and sat up. I really don't know what kind of fortuitous encounter you had. You went from a true immortal to a divine immortal in such a short time. I wonder how Feng Yu's cultivation is now. When she left, she was only a 9th layer golden immortal. It would be great if she could break through to the sky immortal realm. Back then, it wasn't easy for us to snatch her away from the sun-moon divine sect. We can't let them look down on us, Bai Xiaolan said to herself. But such casual words were like knives that pierced Jiangchen's heart. He stared blankly ahead and didn't come back to his senses for a long time. Yes, when Bai Feng Yu ascended to the immortal world, Her cultivation was higher than his. Not only was she a ninth-layer golden immortal, but she also had the power of water and fire. She also had the great moon saint physique. This kind of talent was rare in the entire immortal world. But ever since she rushed to the eastern region from the sect in the immortal emperor's tomb, she had been by his side and didn't have any time to cultivate. Chapter 1812. When Jiang Chun left the Kunlun Immortal Mountain last time, his cultivation base was still at the 9th stage of the Golden Immortal Realm. Are you obsessed with Bai Fengyu? Seeing Jiang Chun staring at Jiang Chun, Bai Xiaoyan waved her hand in front of his face and asked. No. Jiang Chun came back to his senses and shook his head. He didn't say anything, but he decided in his heart that he couldn't let Bai Fengyu follow him around like this anymore. There was almost an endless amount of work around him. If he returned to the Heavenly Secrets Pavilion, he might be able to focus on his cultivation. If you don't have anything, then eat something. Now that our sect is rich, even if we don't need these things to replenish our nutrition, we have to make up for what we owe before. Bai Xiaoyan took big bites. She looked like she would even bite her fingers if she used a little more force. After eating and drinking to their fill, everyone returned to their rooms to rest. Compared to the silence of the Heavenly Secrets Pavilion, the Outer Sea Immortal Mountain was in an uproar. The sect leaders of the 6 mountain sects had all gathered together. Gao Yuan told them about the situation today and told them that they had to rush to the entrance of the Heavenly Secrets Pavilion 3 days later and apologize to Jiang Chun and Bai Xiaoyan to resolve their crisis. Life in the Heavenly Secrets Pavilion was the most leisurely life for Jiang Chun. He guided some disciples in their cultivation, and when he was free, he would look at his junior brother and deduce the ranking list. Bai Xiaoyan didn't idle around either. She set aside a portion of immortal jade for the Heavenly Secrets Pavilion's expenses for the next 20 years, and the rest was used to bring some disciples in the sect to make big purchases. From robes to daily consumables, from elixirs and herbs to all kinds of mid-level and high-level immortal techniques. Every time they went out, they had to fill their storage rings to the brim before returning. Fortunately, they had nearly 3 billion immortal jade, so all the disciples bought freely. Ever since they entered the Heavenly Secrets Pavilion, they had never been so carefree. In the past, when they bought things, they had to calculate the price so that they wouldn't have the money to buy them even if their robes were torn. But now, each of them bought hundreds of robes. They almost emptied the small town near the Heavenly Secrets Pavilion. In 3 days, the Heavenly Secrets Pavilion was filled with vitality. Even when the disciples returned from outside, they had to stand at the entrance for a while to see if it was the Heavenly Secrets Pavilion before entering. Evening. Dozens of Immortal King auras appeared outside the Heavenly Secrets Pavilion. They're here. Jiang Chun was sitting on a chair and looking at the formation Guhua gave him. He immediately stood up after sensing the cultivation. When he walked out, all the immortal kings of the Divination Pavilion were gathered outside. They don't come with good intentions. Walking in front of Bai Xiaoyan, Jiang Chun whispered, I guessed it long ago. Bai Xiaoyan smiled and replied, they submitted because of Master. When Master is not in the sect, they will naturally rebel. 6 is already not bad, but if we can't even deal with this group of people, I'm afraid Master will be disappointed when he returns. Jiang Chun tidied up his slightly wrinkled robes, walked to the door, and pushed it open. Sect leader Jiang, according to the agreement, all 6 sects have arrived. What greeted him was Gao Yuan's flattering face. When he was in the sect, he was already scared out of his wits by Xiaoyan. No matter what the other 5 sect leaders said to him, he would never dare to go against the Heavenly Secrets Pavilion. What sect leader? I think the Heavenly Secrets Pavilion must have lost their minds when Bai Xianling isn't here. They actually let a kid with the cultivation of an immortal realm be their sect leader. I'm afraid this sect is going to decline. Before Jiang Chun could say anything, a sharp-looking woman spoke. She was the sect leader of the charm sect, Mei Chenyu. Although she didn't look good, she exuded a charm from head to toe. If a man who had not seen the world or was not firm enough walked past her, he would definitely be captivated by her. Yeah, it's said that Bai Xianling is in seclusion. Who knows if he's really in seclusion or not? Moreover, Although his cultivation is high, it's not 100% certain that he can become an immortal emperor. The chances of him dying are not small. That's right. People from the other sects also chimed in. They had been secretly observing the Heavenly Secrets Pavilion for a long time. It didn't seem like Bai Xianling was in seclusion at all. Are you all forgetful? Jiang Chun was a little annoyed. The chattering sounds kept echoing in his ears, which was extremely disgusting. Fellow junior brothers and sisters, the experts from the sects outside don't seem to put our Heaven's Secrets Pavilion in their eyes. Looks like there's a need to let them see our strength again. Bai Xiaoyan led the group of immortal kings to the entrance of the sect. Bai Xianling isn't here. Do you really think you're a match for us? It's really shameful to be a disciple of a poor sect like the Heavenly Secrets Pavilion. That's right. If word gets out, the reputation of our overseas immortal mountain will be tarnished because of you. It's a good thing that the other sects haven't reacted yet. Otherwise, they would definitely break off their relationship with you all today. Even though Bai Xiaoyan was here, this group of people still refused to back down. Jiang Chun and Bai Xiaoyan couldn't stand it anymore. Just as they were about to attack, a monstrous aura suddenly shrouded the Heavenly Secrets Pavilion. I heard that someone said that I'm dead? With a light laugh, Bai Xuanling's figure slowly descended from the sky. His genial smile and handsome face were enough to attract millions of girls. However, such a handsome person had frightened the immortal kings of the 5 sects to the point that they were trembling in fear. They were all regretting the harsh words they had said just now. Sect leader Bai, I've listened to your disciple and brought them here to apologize. However, no matter what I said, they weren't sure. There's nothing I can do. Seeing Bai Xianling, Gao Yuan was on the verge of tears. You can go back. This has nothing to do with you. Standing in front of Jiang Chun and Bai Xiaoyan, Bai Xianling waved his hand at him. Gao Yuan felt relieved and quickly left. Since you've arrived at the entrance of the Heavenly Secrets Pavilion, don't stand outside. Come in and talk. Bai Xianling smiled slightly. Then she turned around and entered the school. Jiang Chun and the others followed her. The training platform, which had been a bit crowded, became spacious again. The 5 sect leaders looked at each other as if they had just eaten shit. Each of their faces was uglier than the other. They didn't know whether to enter or leave the entrance of the Heavenly Secrets Pavilion. However, no matter what, they had offended Bai Xianling again. They had even joined forces to kidnap the disciples of the Heavenly Secrets Pavilion. Facing a person who was half a step away from becoming an immortal emperor, this group of people didn't even know how to breathe. Come in. Why are you still standing outside? Not hearing their footsteps, Bai Xianling asked all the disciples to disperse. He then turned around and smiled at them. Come in. At most, we'll die. That's right. It's worth it to die in the hands of an expert like Bai Xianling. Chapter 1813. Under Bai Xuanling's urging, they could do nothing but bite the bullet and go in. The 5 sect leaders sat on the chairs in the hall. They were very restrained and forced an ugly smile on their faces. It's fine that you sects left the alliance when I was not around. I had a hunch, but you dared to kidnap the disciples of the Divine Secret Pavilion. Even my daughter was trapped by you on the Celestial Mountain overseas. You didn't even cherish the chance that Jiang Chen gave you. Bai Xianling sat at the head of the table with a cup of tea in her hand. She looked at them calmly. Her words were neither angry nor sarcastic. Instead, it was as if she was talking about something very normal. Sect leader Bai, we know that we were wrong. We didn't really want to kidnap you. It's just that we haven't seen you for a long time, and we miss you very much. So, we wanted to use this method to lure you out. We didn't hurt the disciples of the Divine Secret Pavilion at all. The group of people immediately knelt on the ground and shouted at Bai Xianling. They did not expect that the jokes that Gao Yuan had mentioned to them a few days ago were all true. At this moment, they did not care about logic. As long as they thought about it, they said it out loud. I'm no longer the pavilion leader of the Divine Secret Pavilion. If you want to beg for mercy, you have to ask him first. Bai Xianling took a sip of tea and pointed at Jiang Chun, who was sitting beside her. Pavilion leader Jiang, we know that we were wrong. Please be magnanimous and let us live." The five of them immediately looked at Jiang Chun and begged for mercy. "Leaders, you think too highly of me. As you said, I'm just a young man with a divine, immortal cultivation level. I'm not even worth a fart in front of you. How can I decide whether you are right or wrong?" Jiang Chun shrugged his shoulders, looking innocent. "Pavilion leader Jiang, please don't joke with us. What we said is nonsense. Please don't take it to heart." When they heard that Jiang Chun was not a nice person, the five sect leaders were even more terrified. "Since all of you are begging for mercy, I can't be the bad guy." Seeing Bai Xianling nodding at him, Jiang Chun understood what he meant. He continued, "I can let you go this time. But whether you want to leave here standing or lying down, it's up to you. Sect leader Jiang, we have an immortal art in our sect. It's said that one of the three celestial kings had comprehended 3 types of fire attribute immortal arts. I'll send it over tomorrow." Sect Master Jiang, our sect has a piece of magic crystal dark iron that has been passed down from generation to generation. This kind of, or is extremely rare in the entire immortal realm. Sect leader Jiang, we don't have any treasures in our sect that can catch your eye. However, we still have 3 billion immortal jades left. If you don't mind, I can send them over tomorrow. Sect Master Jiang, the 5 of them instantly understood Jiang Chen's words. They all racked their brains to think of what rare things they could find in their sections. After all, with a super powerful being like Bai Xianling holding the fort, immortal arts and the like would not be of much use to her. "You're indeed Wan Cheng's son. You're really good." Bai Xianling widened his eyes and could not help but exclaim. What he wanted to tell Jiang Chun was, he wanted to warn these sect leaders. After all, these people were not weak. They were all celestial kings and above. As long as Jiang Chun could use both kindness and power, he would definitely be able to make them submit wholeheartedly. When Jiang Chun was in the immortal realm, they would definitely be good helpers, not weak ones. However, he did not expect that Jiang Chun would completely misunderstand his intentions. This made Bai Xianling very depressed. Not bad, not bad. Since you're so sincere, I'll let you go this time. However, if there's a next time, I won't let you off so easily." Jiang Chun nodded his head satisfactorily. "Thank you, sect leader Jiang, for sparing our lives." The 5 sect leaders were deeply grateful. Under Bai Xuanling's instructions, they quickly escaped from the Heaven's Secret Pavilion as if they were being chased by an immortal emperor. One of the sect leaders was so excited that he even left his shoes behind in the sect and did not dare to come back to pick them up. "Master, I'll deal with it according to your wishes." Jiang Chun cupped his fists at Bai Xianling. In front of Bai Xiaoyan, he naturally had to give her face. "When did I ask you to deal with it this way?" Bai Xianling was so angry that smoke almost came out of his mouth. Although the Heaven's Secret Pavilion was very poor, it was not the kind of sect that would accept bribes. In this way, it was no different from those tacky, low-level sects in the immortal realm. "Didn't you nod your head at me?" Jiang Chun felt wronged. "I thought you meant that as long as I nodded my head, they would be able to live. So, I did it according to my own way." "Little brat, I'm telling you not to go overboard." Bai Xianling could not hold it in any longer and jumped up from his chair. However, when he saw that the sect seemed to have become more luxurious and there were many jade items on the table, he sat back down. It seemed like it was not impossible for him to follow Jiang Chen's wishes. Cough, cough. The reputation of the Heaven's Secret Pavilion and the White Robe, Immortal King, will be ruined by you sooner or later. Bai Xianling coughed awkwardly, feeling disgusted by his own thoughts. "Master, you are right." Jiang Chen stood up and cupped his fists at Bai Xianling. However, he was looking down on Bai Xianling behind his back. "If it weren't for yours truly's help, with your reputation, these people in the Heaven's Secret Pavilion would have starved to death. This time around, I'll only be back for 2 days to take a look at the sect and guide the disciples in their cultivation. After being away for so long, I kind of miss it." Bai Xianling placed his hands behind his back and walked back and forth in the main hall. Afternoon, Jiang Chen met Bai Xianling again at the back of the mountain. At this moment, he was playing the zither. From the sound of the zither, one could hear some longing and sadness. Snap! When he saw Jiangchen walking towards him, Bai Xuanling's hands trembled and broke the strings of his zither. You came back all of a sudden? Don't tell me you ran into a wall in an unknown area? Jiangchen walked up to him and tried to sound him out. From the looks of it, it doesn't seem like you found my mother. You dare to mock me? Bai Xianling felt a sharp pain in his heart. No, I just wanted to tell you something. This time around, I brought back 6 billion immortal jades for the sect. There are also quite a number of storage rings and immortal skills. I won't charge you for these things. You've got to find a way to return these immortal jades to me as soon as possible. After all, you're the Grand Master of the Heaven's Secret Pavilion, and I'm just a representative. Jiangchen shook his head and leaned against the stone mountain. Jiangchen cracked his fingers and said, If you want money, I don't have it. If you want your life, I'm right here. I don't think you have what it takes to take it. Bai Xuanling's fingers were imbued with immortal energy as he carefully adjusted the strings of his zither. Chapter 1814. It's fine if you don't want to pay. Didn't you say that the lives of the 3 immortal kings are in my hands? Jiangchen suddenly laughed coldly and said, When the time comes, I won't even care about you. You can see if I can take your life. Are you threatening me? Bai Xuanling's eyes turned cold. Yes, I am. Jiangchen was not afraid at all. As long as his mother was here, he would be able to control Bai Xianling. I really don't know what to do with you. Bai Xianling sighed. If it's about immortal jades, you can forget about it. This king is very poor. I can't even give you a single immortal jade. Since I have saved your life twice, let's call it even. Damn, how about 3 billion immortal jades each time? Jiangchen exclaimed in shock. Bai Xianling had made a good deal. At the same time, he lamented that his life was so expensive. Immortal jades or not, they're just worldly possessions. It's good to have them, but it's not a problem if you don't have them. Bai Xianling fixed the strings of his zither, stood up with his hands behind his back, and said while shaking his head, You really have the nerve to ask. Jiangchen could not help but despise him even more. Heaven's Secret Pavilion was already so poor, but the dignified senior brother of the sect, a half-step immortal king, was still using the lowest grade storage ring. It's about time I should go back. Bai Xianling raised his head and looked at the sky. Are you going to the great wilderness or the unknown region? Jiangchen was afraid that Bai Xianling would disappear in front of him, so he quickly asked. The great wilderness is an unknown area. It's a very bad place. Ferocious beasts that have existed since ancient times live there. Your mother lives there. But this time, I vaguely found out some information. The unknown region doesn't only consist of the great wilderness. It's even bigger than that. Even I can't sense how big it is. Your mother seems to have left the great wilderness, but also seems to be still in the great wilderness. It's so illusory that even I can't sense it. Bai Xuanling's face was filled with sadness. Every time this matter was brought up, he would feel heartache. Do you think my mother has established a new sect in the unknown region? Jiangchen felt that he was about to forget everything that had happened in the dream. He memorized it on the inside of his robe and would look at it every day. It's hard to say. Maybe there are cultivators living in the unknown territory, just like Bai Xianling paused and continued, just like the relationship between the mortal world and the immortal world. Of course, this is only my guess. Perhaps I'll be able to unravel it after I've truly stepped into the unknown. After saying that, Bai Xianling shook her head and sighed. Perhaps when your strength increases, you will understand it better than me. After all, she is your mother, and you have a mission to fulfill. Mission. Jiangchen took a deep breath. He instantly felt the weight on his shoulder become heavier. Don't put too much pressure on yourself. Just go with the flow. Bai Xianling patted Jiangchen's shoulder. She knew that this might be a little unfair to Jiangchen. When others ascended to the immortal world, they all started from small sects and grew up step by step. However, Jiangchen had just ascended to the position, and he had already met an opponent who was stronger than him. He was destined to be different from the others because he had a heavy mission to fulfill. However, it was also because of this that Jiangchen's cultivation was able to improve rapidly, and he even had the help of so many experts. Bai Xianling knew that even if she did not do anything, There would be people protecting Jiang Chen's safety. Some of them were even stronger than her. No pressure. Jiang Chen shook his head. Other than rescuing Hikari and finding his mother, there was nothing else for him to worry about. That's good. You have to learn how to adjust. Your mother is a powerhouse in the entire world. Even though I haven't seen her for hundreds of thousands of years, I was already attracted to her the first time I saw her. Even though I've traversed the entire continent, I haven't seen a second person who has that kind of temperament. But it's a pity, Bai Xianling recalled, and after a while, she gritted her teeth. But it's a pity that she's my mother. Jiang Chen could not help but chuckle out. I really don't understand why someone like your mother would be together with your father. I really don't get it. Bai Xianling sighed deeply. This was something that she could never understand. What can I do about it? I've been born for so many years. Jiang Chen shrugged his shoulders. Forget it. I'm going to the unknown region now. You just focus on your cultivation and don't cause any trouble. Bai Xianling leaped up and left. He was afraid that if he continued talking to Jiang Chen, he would be pissed to death. Before he left, his voice traveled into Jiang Chen's ears. Now that Gu Hua is helping you, I won't be coming back for the time being. I hope that the next time I see you, I'll be able to find your mother's whereabouts. I might even be able to unlock the secrets of the unknown region. By then, I'll be able to answer all your questions one by one. If your mother really has another sect in the unknown region, I might have to call you young master. Looking at Bai Xuanling's figure leaving, Jiang Chen stood at the same spot and pondered over what he said. Although Murong Tsangtian and Bai Xianling did not say it explicitly, they had indeed solved some of the mysteries in Jiang Chen's heart. His mother must be in the unknown region, and she might even have established a new sect. Sigh, if only I could ascend and enter directly. Then I wouldn't have to suffer all these. Jiang Chen sat on the ground dejectedly. Not long after Bai Xianling left, Jiang Chen sat on his seat and stretched out his hand to stroke the zither strings. Bong! Seeing the zither strings breaking again, Jiang Chen quickly left. The next day, all the sects in the 5 big mountains gathered at the entrance of Divine Secret Pavilion. Although they could no longer sense Bai Xuanling's aura, they did not dare to rebel again. Is sect leader Jiang inside? Mei Chenyu walked at the front and asked with a box in her hand. Sect leader is inside. The disciple looked at them coldly, but at this time, it should be lunch break. You guys better wait. No problem, we'll wait inside. Mei Chenyu nodded her head. Together with the other 4 sect leaders, they tiptoed inside. When they saw Jiang Chen lying on the chair and sleeping, they did not dare to move an inch. They did not even dare to breathe heavily. The 5 of them looked at Jiang Chen anxiously, waiting for him to wake up. But Jiang Chen slept from noon to night. Even though the 5 of them were immortal kings, their legs were trembling uncontrollably after standing for such a long period of time. So comfortable. Opening his eyes, Jiang Chen yawned. Ever since he came to the immortal world, this was probably the most comfortable sleep he had. Chapter 1815. Sect Master. The 5 sect masters from the overseas immortal mountain are all waiting outside. Seeing that Jiang Chen had woken up, the disciple quickly went up and said, "Didn't I tell you not to call me sect master? Call me little?" Jiang Chen was a little unhappy. It felt weird for his senior to call him sect master, but he suddenly remembered that he was no longer the youngest in the entire sect. "Just call me Little Chen," Jiang Chen said after pondering for a while. "Little Chen, they've been waiting outside for an entire afternoon." The disciple didn't stand on ceremony with Jiang Chen. They all knew what kind of person Jiang Chen was. "Why didn't you call me?" Jiang Chen quickly got up. They were here to give him treasures. He couldn't neglect them. "They saw that you were sleeping, so they kept waiting outside. We didn't think of calling you." The disciple looked outside. Even though the matter had passed, he still felt very unhappy when he saw these sect masters. "Let's go out and take a look." Jiang Chen quickly went out. "Sect masters, I'm really sorry for making you wait. Come in and take a seat. I didn't expect to sleep for so long." It's okay. The sect leaders struggled to move forward. When they walked into the hall, Bai Sharon also came in. Mei Chenyu quickly greeted her. This is Seeing them put the box on the table, Jiangchen asked, pointing at it, as if he didn't know anything. Sect Master Jiang, this is what I promised yesterday. It's the enlightenment of one of the 3 great immortal kings. Sect Master Jiang, there's 3 billion immortal jade notes in here. They said one by one. We've really made you guys spend a lot of money. Just come to our divine secret pavilion and have a seat. We're really sorry for bringing gifts. Jiang Chun was overjoyed, but he still looked very calm on the surface. He waved his hand and frowned slightly. The 5 sect masters were stunned in their chairs. What did he mean? Wasn't Jiang Chun the one who asked them to bring the things over? Why did it seem like they were the ones who took the initiative to bring it over, and Jiang Chun didn't know anything about it? Sect Master Jiang, this is just a small token. Consider it our thanks for your magnanimity. In the future, we will definitely continue to be loyal to the Heavenly Secrets Pavilion and you. If there is anything you need, please do not hesitate to ask. We will definitely do our best. Mei Chen shot a glance at Jiang Chun and spoke with her charming eyes. Us too. Another brawny man with pure black eyes also cupped his hands. Bai Xiaoyan stood up and said to Jiang Chun awkwardly, Leader, could you please come out for a moment? I have something to tell you. Before Jiang Chun could say yes, Bai Xiaoyan stood up and said to him, Grandmaster Jiang, if there's anything else, we'll head back first. Mei Chen and the others understood very well. They quickly stood up and cupped their hands, preparing to leave. Either way, the item had already been delivered. As long as they performed well in the future, Jiang Chun would not cause any more trouble for them. Wait! Seeing that they were about to leave, Jiang Chun spoke up. Eldest senior brother, these are all guests of our Heavenly Secrets Pavilion. If there's anything you want to say, don't hide it from them. Just say it directly. After they stopped, Jiang Chun continued. Sect Master Jiang. The few of them shed tears of gratitude. They did not expect that after their betrayal, Jiang Chun would still treat them like this. The 5 of them quickly bowed to Jiang Chun. At the same time, they were filled with endless regret for what they had done before. If Jiang Chun asked them to attack the 3 immortal kings now, they might agree in a moment of hot-headedness. All right, since Sect Master wants to say it in front of them, then I'll be frank. We only brought 1 billion immortal jade back this time. I'm afraid that it will be used up in a year. At that time, the daily expenses of the sect will be a problem. Bai Xiaoyan's expression was complicated. As she spoke, she kept sighing. This is indeed a troublesome matter. Jiang Chun also lowered his head. The 2 of them fell silent and stood still in the hall. The sect masters looked at each other. Seeing that Jiang Chun and Bai Xiaoyan had no intention of continuing to speak, they understood. Their emotions instantly disappeared without a trace. They even cursed Jiang Chun's 18 generations of ancestors. Sect Master Jiang, don't worry. Our charm cult still has some surplus every year. If you don't mind, we'll give your Heavenly Secrets Pavilion 500 million immortal jade every year. Mei Chen forced a smile on her face and said, How embarrassing. Jiang Chun looked embarrassed. If our Heavenly Secrets Pavilion is poor, then so be it. It doesn't matter. Sect Master Jiang will also get 500 million immortal jade every year. Hearing Mei Chen say this, the other sect masters also gritted their teeth and spoke. Although 500 million immortal jade was not a small amount, it could be exchanged for a year of the sect's safety. From the looks of it, it was a very worthwhile deal. Since all of you have said so, if I refuse again, wouldn't I disappoint all of you? Then let's agree that each sect can only get 500 million immortal jades every year. If there is one more, then I will be angry. Jiang Chun frowned. With his hands behind his back, he walked around the hall twice. Only then did he reluctantly agree. Since Sect Master Jiang agrees, then we won't disturb you any longer. There are still some matters in the sect that we need to take care of. When Jiang Chun finished speaking, the sect masters immediately turned and left. They were afraid that if they heard anything from Jiang Chun, they would have to take things out again. Thinking of the stupid things they had done before, the 5 of them regretted it so much that their intestines turned green. Not only did they not gain any benefits, they even lost a lot. Moreover, They were seen as a joke by the other immortal sects in the overseas immortal mountains. In the future, they would not be able to raise their heads. Eldest senior brother, you're a little bad. As soon as they left, Jiang Chun took out all the things in their boxes. Kid, you're not bad. You can understand what I mean with just a few words. With their support, our divine secret pavilion will no longer lack immortal jade in the future. Bai Xiaoyan smiled from ear to ear. Do we have any top water and fire attribute cultivation techniques in our sect? After putting away the things they gave him, Jiangchen asked in a deep voice. No, except for a few cultivation techniques that Master has comprehended, the other cultivation techniques in the pavilion are very low level. Bai Xiaoyan shook her head and asked, didn't you get the top immortal techniques of different attributes in the Immortal Emperor's tomb? Why do you still need cultivation techniques? I want to prepare for Feng Yu. Jiangchen said, her talent is not bad, but since she followed me, she hasn't cultivated properly. I want to call her back to the sect and let her focus on cultivation for a while. In a few days, there will be an auction nearby, but I'm not sure if we can get a top cultivation technique. Bai Xiaoyan pondered for a while and said, let's go and take a look. Jiangchen nodded. Chapter 1816. Time flew by. It was time for the auction. Jiang Chun and Bai Xiaoyan rushed over early in the morning. They were afraid that if they were late, they might miss some of the auction items. If there was something suitable for Bai Fengyu, it would be too late for regrets. Eldest senior brother, is this the auction you mentioned? Jiangchen couldn't help but twitch his mouth when he saw the dilapidated state inside. Although this town wasn't far from the heavenly secret pavilion, it was too dilapidated. If everyone inside was moved away, people would believe that it was an abandoned town that had not been inhabited for hundreds of years. Jiang Chun was not interested in participating in an auction in such a place. Let's try our luck. If you can wait, you can ask Great Elder Su Qian to keep an eye out for you during the next East Region auction. If you can't wait, then it's up to fate. Compared to Jiang Chun, Bai Xiaoyan was in high spirits. When Bai Xianling was still the sect master, they didn't even have the money to come to such a town. Sigh, since we're already here, Jiang Chun sighed helplessly. The two walked side by side into the town and suppressed their cultivation. Most of the people living here were immortals. They could even vaguely feel the aura of a few golden immortal. Jiang Chun and Bai Xiaoyan's cultivation was too conspicuous. They walked out of the town and saw the place where the auction was. It was a dilapidated 3-story hollow building. It looked like it would collapse at any time. Cough, cough, it's indeed a little dilapidated. Looking at the situation in front of her, Bai Xiaoyan coughed awkwardly. She only knew that there was an auction here all year round, but she had never been here before. Now that she saw it, she might as well not come. After paying 200 immortal jade for the ticket, the two went to a private room on the 3rd floor. From here, they could clearly see the situation below. It's not bad to be able to bid for some cultivation methods and immortal spells for our new junior brothers and sisters to use. Bai Xiaoyan crossed her legs. When she smelled the faint rotten smell in the private room, she couldn't help but retch. A place like this might not even have cultivation techniques or immortal arts. Jiang Chun leaned back in his chair. He no longer held any hope for this auction. He just took it as an opportunity to broaden his horizons in his boring life. As the seats were filled, thus the auction officially started. Just as Jiang Chun had expected, all the things that were taken out were things that he didn't care about. It was almost impossible to find a cultivation technique that was suitable for Bai Fengyu. After watching for a while, the two of them couldn't help but turn around and leave. They would just treat the 400 immortal jade tickets as if they had lost them on the way. However, before leaving the town, Jiang Chun stopped in front of a small tavern. Are you hungry? Bai Xiaoyan glanced at him and asked. Sometimes, when luck is on your side, you really can't stop it. Jiang Chun's lips curled into a smile as he pointed at a stall at the side of the tavern. How much are you going to sell this book for? Jiang Chun walked over and slowly squatted down. He picked up a blue cultivation technique book from the stall and asked, This is passed down from my family's ancestors. It's a dual cultivation technique of water and fire. If you really want it, give me some immortal jade. The old man extended his withered hand and raised it while shivering. He raised it in front of Jiang Chun and raised one of his fingers. 1,000 immortal jade? Jiang Chun was a little surprised. This price was far beyond his expectations. Although the cultivation technique wasn't very strong, it should be enough for Bai Fengyu now. Moreover, it was of different attributes. If this cultivation technique was placed in a slightly bigger auction, it would cost at least 1 billion. Yes, if you can't afford it, we can discuss the price again. The old man looked at the cultivation technique book in Jiang Chen's hand. His eyes filled with reluctance. Can you tell me why you want to sell it at such a low price? Don't tell me you stole it? Jiang Chen flipped through the cultivation technique book. After seeing that there were no problems, he asked, "In all honesty, Old Six, have never done anything sneaky. My family used to have a little reputation in the northern region tens of thousands of years ago. Later, generation after generation, we declined and failed to live up to expectations. The family was squandered, and only this cultivation technique book was left. Now, I just want to sell it and make a living." The old man shook his head and explained, "Then why don't you sell it in a big town?" Seeing him like this, Jiang Chen really couldn't bear to cheat him. "I also want to go, but I don't have any cultivation now. If others see this cultivation technique book, I'm afraid they will immediately kill me and take it away. I'd better sell it here. I'll sell it as much as I can." The old man sighed and said, "Okay, I'll take this cultivation technique book." Jiang Chun put the cultivation technique book into his storage ring and took out a promissory note and slapped it on the old man's stall. The old man looked at the promissory note. It was a share of 10,000 immortal jade. Thinking that Jiang Chun gave the wrong amount, he quickly got up and looked outside the town. However, the two people had already disappeared into the town. "I really met a good person." The old man was moved to tears. After repeatedly confirming that there was no mistake, he immediately put away the promissory note. If nothing unexpected happened, this amount of money would be enough for him to die. After returning to the pavilion with the cultivation technique book, Jiang Chen asked his senior brother to immediately go to Kunlun Immortal Mountain and asked Bai Fengyu to come back immediately. "When you were in the Immortal Emperor's tomb, didn't you obtain some low-level immortal techniques? Why don't you give it to the disciples of the sect to cultivate? This way, the strength of our heavenly secret pavilion will increase. If we really fight with the sect leader of the Black Sect in the future, it can be considered a good strength." Bai Xiaoyan sat at the entrance of the hall with her legs crossed. Looking at the junior brothers and sisters cultivating on the cultivation platform, she couldn't help but hum a song. "Everyone!" Jiang Chun touched his storage ring. All the disciples stopped and gathered in front of Jiang Chun. "This time I brought back a lot of good things. If not for senior brother's reminder, I would have forgotten about it." Jiang Chun lightly patted his storage ring. Hundreds of immortal techniques appeared on the stone steps in front of him. "Where did you get so many immortal techniques?" Bai Xiaolan also came with the other disciples. She casually picked up 2 books and flipped through them. She discovered that if they were to be sold outside, each book would be worth at least 10 million immortal jade. And there were hundreds of them in this huge pile. You don't need to know where they came from. In any case, it's a legitimate method. Naturally, he couldn't reveal the matter of the Immortal Emperor's tomb. He said, "Third senior sister, with so many immortal techniques, our disciples won't be able to digest them all. I'll have to trouble you to recruit more disciples. If there aren't enough rooms, the sect has enough immortal jade to expand." Chapter 18-17. Eldest senior brother, I have something to tell you. Seeing that Jiang Chun was not going to tell her the truth, Bai Xiaolan grabbed Bai Xiaoyan's clothes and dragged her into the hall. She then slammed the door shut. "Choose the immortal arts according to your own attributes. If I find out that anyone dares to hide the immortal arts, I'll kick him out of the sect immediately." Without Bai Xiaolan, Jiang Chun waved his hand and said loudly, "Thank you, sect leader." Especially those disciples who had just joined the sect, they all rushed up excitedly. They had joined the Heaven Secret Pavilion for Bai Xianling. Who would have thought that a half-step Immortal Emperor expert would leave the sect empty? There were even weeds growing in the courtyard. However, now that Jiang Chun had become the sect leader, the last bit of discomfort in their hearts disappeared. Seeing that the immortal arts in front of him were gradually decreasing, Jiang Qin was so happy that he crossed his legs and stared at them. In a short while, almost all the disciples had obtained the immortal arts. Those who did not get the immortal arts stood together with their senior brothers and sisters, preparing to cultivate the immortal arts together. Why didn't you take these? Seeing that there were still a few immortal arts in front of him, Jiang Chun asked in surprise. They don't meet the requirements. The disciples shook their heads. Oh! Jiang Chun raised his eyebrows and picked up the immortal arts together. However, after he had seen their attributes, he realized that the rest were all of the dark element. Among the disciples of the heavenly secret pavilion, only Jiang Chun had dark element immortal power and immortal methods. None of them were like him, and he was the only one with dark element. I'll take back the dark attribute immortal arts. I reckon that after you've fully comprehended these immortal arts, I'll bring back new ones for you. Jiang Chun kept the immortal arts in his storage ring and looked at them. However, if I find out that you're lazy, don't blame me for taking back the immortal arts in your hands. Junior brother, you're the eternal god. An immortal king's senior brother could not help but give Jiang Chun a thumbs up. God? Jiang Chun glanced sideways. It seemed that he used to be called Tian Chun Divine King. Being called a god was in line with his identity. In the hall, Bai Xiaolan put her hands on her hips. Eldest senior brother, what did you and Jiang Chun do when you were out? Why did you come back with immortal jades and immortal arts? I've roughly counted them, and they add up to at least 1,000,000 immortal jades. As Bai Xuanling's daughter, it was necessary for her to get to the bottom of this. I didn't steal or rob. I got it fair and square. Bai Xiaoyan chuckled. Did you go to the mercenary group to earn commission? Seeing him like this, Bai Xiaolan was angry. My dear junior sister, even if you've been a mercenary for tens of thousands of years, you still might not be able to obtain these immortal jades. Bai Xiaoyan interrupted her and said, if even Master knows about it, then it must have been obtained through legitimate means. It's just that I can't tell you right now. If you really want to know, go ask your father. After saying this, Bai Xiaoyan slipped out. Bai Xiaoyan! Bai Xiaolan stomped her foot and punched the wall angrily. When Jiang Chun distributed the immortal arts, the senior brothers and sisters of the immortal kings began to guide their junior brothers and sisters in their cultivation. On the cultivation platform, new immortal arts finally appeared. You're quite a qualified sect leader. Bai Xiaoyan looked at Bai Xiaolan, who was not far away. Like Jiang Chun, she sat cross-legged with her hands on her cheeks and said, if you're interested, I'll give it to you. Feeling the immortal chi spreading out, Jiang Chen's heart was bleeding. If not for Bai Xiaoyan, he would have sold these immortal arts long ago. Tens of billions of immortal jades were enough for him to live a carefree life for a while. Even if his father owed him money in the bank, he was not afraid at all. Now that he finally earned a little, Bai Xiaoyan took away a large portion of it. Jiang Chen felt more and more that Bai Xinling wanted him to join the Heavenly Secrets Pavilion was a conspiracy. Compared to him, his scams were simply not enough. Junior sister Feng Yu is back. Bai Xiaoyan was about to reject when she suddenly straightened her back. Jiang Chen also stretched his neck to look outside the sect. The immortal king he sent out was the first to return. Immediately after, her beautiful figure flashed and rushed towards the main hall. What happened to you? Stopping in front of Jiang Chun, Bai Fengyu's hair was messy and her breathing was rapid. Her beautiful eyes were filled with worry. Just as she steadied herself, she kept sizing up Jiang Chun. No, nothing happened. Jiang Chun was a little surprised. Then why did you suddenly send Martial Uncle to Kunlun, Immortal Mountain, to tell me to come back immediately? I thought you were in trouble. Bai Fengyu's eyes were suddenly filled with tears. She had cried along the way. This was the first time Jiang Chun called her so urgently. She thought that Jiang Chun might have met with a mishap and his life was hanging by a thread. He wanted her to come back and see him one last time. Is it very urgent? Jiang Chun looked at the senior brother, who was walking over, and asked curiously. Martial Uncle said that you wanted me to come back quickly. But before I could ask clearly, he left Kunlun, Immortal Mountain. I didn't even have the time to greet the Mountain Lord and directly followed him back. While heaving a sigh of relief, Bai Fengyu was also puzzled. Looking at Jiang Chen's appearance, he didn't look like he was injured at all. In fact, he even put on some weight. "Senior brother, why are you in such a hurry?" Jiang Chen curiously asked the senior brother, who was also gasping for breath. "Our pavilion has been giving out good things every day recently. Every meal is also filled with delicacies. I was afraid that I would miss it if I stayed outside for too long, so I was a little anxious. I didn't expect Sister Fengyu to misunderstand." The senior brother scratched his head embarrassedly, looking as if he had done something wrong. Jiang Chen was speechless. Bringing Bai Fengyu into the room, Jiang Chen took out the Immortal Technique book from his storage ring. "What is this?" Bai Fengyu brushed her messy hair. "I just found a cultivation technique book for you. It is perfectly compatible with your current attributes. When your cultivation increases a little more and you reach Heaven Immortal, I will get you a better one." Jiang Chen stuffed the cultivation technique book into her hands. "Why are you suddenly like this?" Bai Fengyu's face was slightly red. This seemed to be the only thing Jiang Chen gave her after coming to the immortal world. "Senior Sister Xiaolan's words yesterday made me feel a little guilty. When you ascended to the immortal world, you were already a 9th stage golden immortal. You also have the 2 attributes of water and fire in your body. Even your great moon saint constitution has awakened. With such talent, you have been following me without any time to cultivate. It is very unfair to you." Jiang Chen took a deep breath and recalled the words by Xiaolan, said a few days ago. Until now, he still felt pain in his heart. "Are you looking down on me?" Bai Fengyu threw the cultivation technique book to the side. "Where did that come from?" Jiang Chen hurried to ask. Chapter 1818. You still have so many things to deal with. If you let me return to the sect to cultivate, I will have a way to stay by your side. You still say you don't dislike me." Bai Fengyu lowered her head, her voice as soft as a mosquito. "You can't delay your own cultivation for me." Jiang Chen stepped forward and hugged her. "I don't want cultivation. I just want to stay by your side." Bai Fengyu raised her head. Her pair of sparkling eyes were filled with tears. "Moreover, there is no need to be in such a hurry to cultivate. Fengyu, listen to me." Upon hearing Bai Fengyu's sentimental words, Jiang Chen's face became gloomy, and he held her arms with both of his hands. He said, "If you really want to help me, then you should cultivate diligently. When your cultivation level increases and you have the extreme Yin sacred body, you will surely be able to help me greatly." "Really?" Bai Fengyu blinked her eyes. "When have I ever lied to you?" Jiang Chen hugged her again and said in a deep voice, "I will stay in the sect for a few more days to accompany you. After that, I will leave. I will come back to see you often. You might not be able to stay for a few more days." Bai Fengyu hugged Jiang Chen tightly and said softly, "And why?" Jiang Chen lowered his head and looked at her. "Before I met Martial Uncle, I had a meeting with a few mountain lords. They have already investigated the identity of the 3 sects in the northern region. They are indeed the branch sects of the Black Sect's sect master. All 3 sects are branch sections. None of them can escape." Bai Fengyu left Jiang Chen's embrace and wiped the tears on her face. "It's true." His eyes instantly turned gloomy. Although he had fought with the Black sect master and knew some information, it was useless to Jiang Chen. In other words, knowing this information was not enough to save Ikari. "Therefore, I'm afraid you can't stay in the sect anymore. You have to return to the Kunlun Celestial Mountain immediately and meet up with Mountain Lord Mystic Moon and Mountain Lord Tiny Moon. I heard that the 2 mountain lords have already gathered the experts from their respective sects and are ready to strike at any time." Bai Fengyu looked at Jiang Chen. She really couldn't bear to part with the man in front of her, but she knew that if she stopped Jiang Chen, then Hikari would be in more danger. "I'll go back tomorrow." Jiang Chen frowned and thought for a while. "Let's go now. Bring Martial Uncle Bai, Big Brother Jiang Chen, and Big Sister Huafu. I heard that the 3 sects are in the western part of the northern region. There's still some distance between them and the Divination Pavilion." Bai Fengyu pushed Jiang Chen's arm. "Western region?" Jiang Chen raised his eyebrows. "Yes, the Citra family is also in the west." Bai Fengyu knew what Jiang Chen was thinking. I really didn't expect that there would be 4 subsects of the Black Sect in the western part of the northern region. As far as the current situation is concerned, I'm afraid that even if we expose all the subsects, we won't get much information. Jiang Qin took a deep breath. He knew that the existence of these subsects was to select young people for the Black Sect's sect master. Apart from that, they didn't seem to have much connection with the Black Sect. What do you mean? Bai Fengyu asked. During the time you were in the Kunlun Celestial Mountain, the Thousand Harmonies sect destroyed the Corpse Cliff. This sect status in the eyes of the Black Sect's sect master is not low. Even when I went there with Senior Brother for the first time, his soul avatar appeared and exchanged a few moves with me. Jiang Chun sat on the bed. Are you injured? Bai Fengyu's tone instantly became anxious. No, it's just an immortal soul avatar. It didn't cause any harm to me. Jiang Chun shook his head and said with a straight face, What about the news? Bai Fengyu continued to ask. No, there is no news related to the Black Sect in this sect. At this time, their great Elder Shircho and several other elders are locked up in the Thousand Harmonies sect by Su Qian. But these people's mouths are very tight. I don't think they can talk. Jiang Chen shook his head, but this person is hiding in the outer region. Bai Xian, Old Bai, and the others are not willing to help you. In the Kunlun Celestial Mountain, dealing with the Black Sect subsects is fine. But if you want to deal with the Black Sect in the outer region, the other mountain lords will certainly not agree. Relying on our current strength, we are simply not his opponent. Bai Fengyu's face became anxious. Although she had only been with Hikari for a short time, she had long regarded the little girl as a younger sister. After Hikari's disappearance, her mood had not been very high. Yes, at present, it seems that we still have to start from these subsects. I hope we can get some clues. Jiang Chen sighed helplessly. There was just one thing that he did not tell Bai Fengyu. That was, in these few exchanges with the Black Sect's sect master, he realized that even if he already knew his purpose and knew that he was in the outer region, if he did not release Hikari, Jiang Chen still had no way to do anything. Continuing to investigate the Black Sect subsects was just hoping to find something that could threaten the Black Sect's sect master, so as to force him to take the initiative to hand over Hikari. But this possibility was really too low. Then why don't you hurry up? Bai Fengyu pulled Jiang Chen's arm and was ready to pull him up from the bed. It's not too late to go back tomorrow. Hikari is my disciple, but you are also my disciple. I can't put all my thoughts on her, not to mention that you now have another identity. Jiang Chen took advantage of the situation and directly pulled Bai Fengyu into his arms. I warn you, don't talk nonsense. Bai Fengyu's face flushed red. At this time, many disciples were standing outside the door. Senior Brother, what is the relationship between Jiang Chun and Sister Fengyu? Yeah, do we still have a chance? Everyone listened carefully as they whispered among themselves. Although they couldn't hear anything, they couldn't resist their curiosity. Moreover, it was fine that Bai Fengyu had left, but now that the girl had returned to the sect, they instantly felt that their chance had come. To tell you the truth, even if there is no relationship between Jiang Chun and Bai Fengyu, do you think that Bai Fengyu will take a fancy to you? Bai Xiaoyan sat on the chair with her legs crossed. Once upon a time, he was the same as this group of people. His mind was filled with Bai Fengyu's figure. But now that he knew that he had no chance, he was able to accept it. I'm an immortal king. I'm also an immortal king. If I wasn't in the pavilion, I would have gone to the continent and become a strong expert. Bai Xiaoyun's words made them stomp their feet, and each of them spoke out in dissatisfaction. Who is an immortal king? Jiang Chen pushed open the door and saw the chaos outside. So he asked, Cough, cough, cough. Bai Xiaoyun coughed loudly. Once they saw Jiang Chen, this group of immortal kings who were bragging just now instantly withered. It was true that he was an immortal king, but Jiang Chen was the sect master appointed by their master. They quickly left through the door and scattered. Chapter 18-19. They're still thinking about your disciple. Bai Xiaoyan didn't give these junior brothers any face. Anyway, Jiang Chen already knew what the people of Tianji Pavilion were like when he entered the sect. Senior brother, tomorrow morning we will return to Kunlun Immortal Mountain. Fengyu said that Mountain Lord Xianyue and Mountain Lord Weiyue have already found out that the 3 sects in the western part of the northern domain are indeed the subsects of the Black Sect. Jiang Chun didn't care about this matter. There were many people who were thinking about Bai Fengyu, and the immortal kings of Tianji Pavilion were simply not on the list. Oh, are you sure? Bai Xiaoyan put away the smile on his face. Fengyu told us to come in and leave, but I want to accompany her for one more day. Jiang Chun nodded. Black Cloud Sect, Citra Clan, Corpse Cliff. Bai Xiaoyan's finger gently tapped on the table and said, plus these three, we have already caught 6 of the 20 subsects, but the information we have is not enough to rescue Ikari. Jiang Chun followed his words. You realized it? Bai Fengyu raised his head and looked at Jiang Chun in surprise. I've always known it. Jiang Chun nodded. I was worried that you wouldn't be able to accept the truth, so I've been hesitating whether to tell you or not. Bai Xiaoyan's expression relaxed a little. Since Jiang Chun could see it clearly, he was also worried that his junior brother would get into a dead end. Whether it's useful or not, since the Black Sect master has taken Hikari, then he is my enemy. Destroying his subsect is what I must do. Jiang Chun clenched his fists. I like to hear this. It's my junior brother who said it. Bai Xiaoyan praised. But, after a moment of silence, the two spoke at the same time. However, I want to take the lords of the 5 sects and schools from the overseas Immortal Mountain with me. First of all, they can be our henchmen. Second of all, we can take them with us. In this way, the 5 sects and schools won't cause any more trouble while we're away, Jiang Chun said first. I have the same thoughts as you. Bring them along. The immortal kings of the overseas Immortal Mountains are really useful. Seeing that Jiang Chun had the same thoughts as her, Bai Xiaoyan laughed out loud. After discussing the specific countermeasures, Jiang Chun stayed in the room to accompany Bai Fengyu for the entire day and almost never came out. Bai Xiaoyan, on the other hand, personally made a trip to the overseas Immortal Mountain. He relayed the news to the 5 sections. The 5 sect masters immediately agreed without any hesitation. The thing they didn't dare to do now was to disobey Jiang Chun's orders. Not to mention whether they would die or not. Just by singing the same tune with Bai Xiaoyan, they would be able to empty out their sect. The next morning, while the disciples of the Heavenly Mysteries Pavilion were cultivating, the 5 of them came at the same time. Mei Chenyu, the sect master of the Charm Clan, greets sect master Jiang. Zhihua, the mountain lord of Mount Wudong, greets sect leader Jiang. Xin sect, Mahayana temple, Darking Palace. The 5 of them stood at the entrance of the sect and shouted at the same time. Because these sect masters didn't show their true strength the previous few times, the new disciples of the Heavenly Mysteries Pavilion didn't know their cultivation. They only heard about the overseas Immortal Mountain for the first time when Bai Xiaolan was captured. Usually, the senior brothers and sisters in the sect always boasted that they were immortal kings, but they had never seen them use their immortal power. They thought that in the Heavenly Mysteries Pavilion, only Bai Xuanling's cultivation was real. But this time, they really felt a terrifying aura from the 5 people outside the door. 5 sect masters, you don't need to be so polite. Come with me. When you come back, I will give you the rubbing of the Immortal Emperor's handwritten letter for you to study. Jiang Chun opened the door and came out with Bai Xiaoyan. Is it the rubbing that the sword Dao Hall mentioned last time? I heard that they went out with Jiang Chun last time. When they came back, they mentioned that if you perform well, you can get the Immortal Emperor's handwritten letter. We can get it directly when we come back this time. It's really scary. They even have such a treasure. I wonder if it's the Immortal Emperor's comprehension or the Immortal Emperor's complaint. The 5 of them whispered in low voices. While they were talking, Jiang Chun and the other 3 walked out together. The senior brothers and junior brothers of the Heavenly Mysteries Pavilion, who had reached the Immortal King realm, saw them off with their eyes. Be careful. No matter what happens, don't put yourself in danger. Under the gaze of many disciples, Bai Fengyu ran out of the room and stood in front of Jiang Chun, whispering softly. As soon as she said that, the originally dignified and even somewhat cool departure ceremony was instantly broken. A group of old foxes from the Heavenly Mystery Pavilion lamented. They kept pounding their chests and sighing. They knew that even if Bai Fengyu had stayed in the sect, she wouldn't have had any chance, as she had already become Jiang Chun's woman. I know. When I come back, I hope to see your cultivation progress. Jiang Chen smiled and stroked her hair. After staying in the pavilion for 2 days, Jiang Chun understood that whether it was the Thousand Harmonies sect or the Kunlun Immortal Mountain, it was not as comfortable as the Heavenly Mysteries Pavilion. Because here, everyone supported him, and he did not have to worry about hearing any opposition. If necessary, he could even transfer experts from the overseas Immortal Mountains. Several figures swept out from the sky above the Heavenly Mysteries Pavilion and soon disappeared into the horizon. At this time, in the Kunlun Immortal Mountain, Xian Yu and Wei Yu once again mobilized the experts in the sect, waiting for Jiang Chun to come back and go to the west to investigate the situation of the three families. However, when they were waiting for Jiang Chun, they sensed several Immortal King auras at the same time. What's going on? Wei Yu flashed out of the main hall and looked at the gate of the Immortal Mountain. She sensed Jiang Chen's aura, but there were 5 Immortal Kings chasing after Jiang Chen. Moreover, they were experts that she had never sensed before, so she did not think that they were Jiang Chen's people. Just as she was thinking, a stream of light flashed across the 9th mountain. Xian Yu, Wei Yu subconsciously opened her mouth and was about to stop her. However, Xian Yu's speed was too fast. The moment she opened her mouth, she had already passed in front of her. She's as reckless as Jiang Chun. Wei Yu stomped her feet and hurriedly followed. Although Xian Yu's cultivation was not bad, if she faced 5 Immortal Kings, she almost had no chance of winning. In the distance, on the first mountain's owner sat firmly in her seat. She knew the identity of this group of people. After all, Wan Cheng had once told her that Jiang Chun was now the pavilion master of the Heavenly Mysteries Pavilion and the person who inherited the mantle of Jiang Chun. Although the Immortal King's auras were strong, there was no hostility. They were not chasing after Jiang Chun, but following him. At the gate of the mountain, Xian Yu stopped and looked up at the streams of light in the sky. Chapter 1820. You're no match for them. Wei Yu was also worried about Jiang Chen's safety. For a moment, she even lost her ability to think. Mountain Lord Wei Yu, Mountain Lord Xian Yu, I didn't expect the two of you to specially welcome me at the entrance of the Immortal Mountain. Under their surprised gazes, Jiang Chen's figure landed in front of them. Except for Bai Xiaoyan, Zhang Yuan, and Hua Fu, whom Jiang Chen was familiar with, the other 5 Celestial Kings were all following him. They did not intend to fight at all. They are? Xian Yu asked. These 5 are the Immortal Kings of the 5 sects of the overseas Immortal Mountain. This time they have specially come to help me. Jiang Chen walked forward, leaned in front of Xian Yu, and said softly, Are you worried about my safety? Don't talk nonsense. Xian Yu pretended to be calm, but Jiang Chen's hot breath made her heart itch. Forget that I mentioned to you before. Now that I'm the leader of the Overseas Immortal Mountain Alliance, I can mobilize these Immortal Kings. Don't overestimate them. Just treat them as your subordinates. Really? Xian Yu took half a step back, keeping a distance from Jiang Chen. 5 sect leaders, please come in. Jiang Chen smiled faintly and pointed at the entrance of Kunlun Immortal Mountain. If there's no problem, we'll take action later. Yes, Alliance leader. The 5 sect leaders gave Jiang Chen enough face. With the 5 of them joining, Xian Yu and Wei Yu were not worried at all. With such strength, even if they encountered the sect leader of the Black Sect, they might not lose. After entering the sect, they rested for a while and then left together. This majestic strength caused quite a commotion in the northern region. 6 Immortal Kings, 4 Immortal Monarchs, and even dozens of Immortal Primes and half-step Immortal Monarchs sped towards the west. When they passed by some sects and clans, these forces were all on guard, fearing that their former enemies would gather experts to take revenge. They either ordered all their clansmen and disciples to prepare for battle or directly activated the sect protection array. Just as they were making these preparations, Jiang Chun and his men flew over their heads. When they sensed that this aura was getting further and further away from them, these forces finally relaxed completely. There were even a few sect leaders who directly sat on the ground, panting heavily. Such strength was enough to crush them one-sidedly. Even if they resisted, it would be futile. 6 hours later, Jiang Chun stood in the northern domain. Young master, an old man rushed out of a town and appeared directly in front of Jiang Chun. Elder Shiyin? Jiang Chun asked in surprise when he saw the person in front of him. Young master, may I know why you suddenly brought so many experts into the western regions? Did our Hydra family do something wrong? Shiyin wiped the sweat from her forehead. It does have something to do with your Citra family. I've investigated 3 more subsects of the dark sect in the western regions. Elder Shiyin, you're so close to them, and you used to have the same identity. Don't you know anything about it? Jiang Chun smiled faintly. Originally, he didn't plan to go to the Hydra family this time. Since they took the initiative to come, he had to have a good talk with them. Young master, please come to the family and have a seat. Feeling the pressure from these immortal kings and immortal monarchs, Shiyin couldn't bear it at all. She even had a feeling that she would fall from the sky at any time. Have a seat? Jiang Chun looked at the crowd behind him and smiled. We've been on the road for a long time. It's okay to take a rest. Besides, we're in the western regions. The 3 subsects have already joined forces. If we come here in a hurry, although we can kill them, we may be careless, Bai Xiaoyan said in a deep voice after thinking for a while. Lead the way. Jiang Chun nodded at Shiyin. When they had arrived at the Citras, Shiyin drove all of the elders and disciples out of the hall right away. The experts brought from the Kunlun Immortal Mountain were also settled down by her. Jiang Chun and the others were sitting in the hall, watching Shiyin and some servants busying themselves with preparing tea and snacks. Elder Shiyin, don't be so busy. Jiang Chun looked at her and said faintly, Young master, our Hydra family is already your subordinate family. You've suddenly visited us, so we should entertain you. Shiyin smiled awkwardly, but when she spoke, she secretly waved her hand to let all the servants leave. Let me introduce you. These 2 are the mountain masters of Kunlun Immortal Mountain. Jiang Chun pointed to Xian Yu and Wei Yu. Greetings, mountain masters. Xian nodded and bowed. These 5 are the 5 sect masters of the overseas Immortal Mountain. Jiang Chun pointed to Mei Chenyu and the others. Greetings, sect masters. Xian quickly turned around and greeted them. I don't need to introduce the 3 to you. Jiang Chun looked straight at him and continued to ask, like I said just now, tell me in front of these people, why didn't you tell me the truth before? Young master, I really don't know. Just now it was Hid who contacted the sect master of Black Sect. I've already told you everything I know. I didn't know that there were 3 other subsects in the West. Xian stood in front of Jiang Chun and said with a bitter face. The 5 people of the overseas Immortal Mountain just looked at them. They didn't even know what had happened. They had never heard of the sect master of Black Sect. Tell me, what do you know about these 3 sects? Jiang Chun didn't press him. What he had told Hit wasn't different from what he had told him. Which 3 subsects? Xian quivered as she clearly felt that Jiang Chun was angry. Underworld Gang, Darkwing Alliance, and Fire Dragon Hall. Xian Yu said, I've never heard of them. Young master, there are at least 500 sects in the western region, if not 1,000. Our Citra family is only a little famous in the vicinity. We're nothing compared to the entire western region. How would we know these sects? Xian shook her head vigorously. You've never heard of them? Jiang Chun continued to ask. If I dare to cheat you, young master, I will definitely be hacked into pieces. Even after death, I won't have a complete corpse. Xian promised as she patted her chest. Take a day off. We'll start tomorrow morning. Jiang Chun didn't ask further as he knew that Xian didn't know too much. 5 sect masters, what we heard today. Don't worry, Chief. We didn't hear anything. We just wanted to solve the trouble with you. Mei Chenyu was smarter. Before Jiang Chun spoke, she had put her hand on her chest and said, Not bad. Jiang Chun nodded as he got up and walked outside. Lords, I prepared guest rooms for you in the clan. I'll have my clansmen take you there. If you need anything, just tell them. Xian hurriedly told them, You're tuning into the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.